Welcome in, welcome in. We are live. For those of you that are able to join us, welcome in. Hey, yo, we're going live during a national outage. YouTube is down. I don't know. Hey, yo, pause. I don't know. We still don't got any details, I guess, on what is actually going on. I mean, we're never like, I guess to both, obviously expose ourselves and, obviously for better or worse, we're not, super locked into news. I think, like everybody, we are, able to keep up with a lot of the big stories. But in terms of there being like an insider or somebody able to drop information about this type of thing, and I still don't, YouTube being down, like a technology insider, sources say type of guy. But this is like we take this advantage a little bit. I feel like in sports, because when these big news breaking event type of things happen, I feel like, and hey, respect to news journalism out there. Obviously, they're doing a good job. I'm just saying, like, we do have specific names that we can go to like what's happening. Like this guy alone. Like, I mean, obviously, Woj is the top example. I mean, Woj might be literally the greatest industry insider that's like ever existed in any industry ever. I don't know, but I guess obviously, maybe there's a joke or two that could prove us wrong there. But for actually dropping, again, information sources say, like, I think Woj is the best in the business. Like, anytime anything happened in the NBA, you just go, okay, obviously Woj is going to have the information. I mean, now obviously Shams and guys like Windhorst and carrying on the task of having to do that same type of thing. Schefter and Rappaport are, of course, known for that in the NFL. I'm sure, I guess, like Passan, Jeff Passan for ESPN, I think is a name that sounds familiar when I would think of like a baseball insider. So obviously college football. What do we got? Like Marty Smith? I don't know who's the number one college football insider. Pat McAfee? Maybe it's maybe that was a little more up in the air. I'm not sure there, but or I'm just not thinking about it right now. But again, for news, we don't just have like a guy that just like, okay, who's gonna have the report on Twitter that be like, sources say YouTube is down because somebody tripped the wire in terminal A wing B, and it's like, oh, now they got to send a whole crew over there. But it's like a Christmas light situation. They're all out, but you got to find the one that's like the actual bad Christmas light. I guess that's like old Christmas light. We're sitting over here talking about old Christmas light technology, but you operate with some hand-me-down Christmas lights when you're a kid. Like, you still operate with some of that same type of stuff. So I don't know. Again, we need somebody who is in the YouTube offices right now dropping. We need some insider information. And I was like, when we were looking at YouTube, trying to figure out what was going on here. Of course, somebody in IT asked if YouTube had a website that we could go to, and we were like, hey, yo, what do you mean by that? So, I mean, obviously you can't just go like youtube.com. It's a little bit different. So, that we need info. We need somebody out there giving us the news about what is actually, and again, maybe I just don't know, hey, yo, in the tech industry, who is the Woj of the tech industry? Who is the Woj of all these different businesses? I'm trying to think for Hollywood as well, too. I mean, again, you would have sources and like news outlets themselves that you would go to for information. Like if things end up in the Hollywood Reporter, a lot of times, of course, that can be a pretty good sign that it's legit. But for actually like an individual name of a guy, Nardwar, but again, that's different because he'll do like an interview and then expose it. Maybe Woj probably does have like a second life as like we didn't even think about that. I mean, we don't want to take him away from his job, being the same, the St. Bonnie's, shout out the St. Bonaventures GM. I don't know if we want to look up their records, see what they're doing. I guess we don't want to assume, but I guess again, we really only pay attention to the top 25. So we shout out, maybe it's just, it'll take a couple of years, but maybe he might have a second life or a third life, I guess, as like a Nardwar type interview guy for the NBA. And I was thinking maybe it could be like a formal Nardwar interview type setting where he sits down and they got chairs and they're actually he's asking him questions that way. But he could do the crash, TMZ, like the microphone on the street style type of interview and just like find guys and go to NBA games, just like catch guys in tunnels and AO pause, just as the guys are walking into the game. Just be like, I guess we were thinking guys walking into the game. I mean, the first guy we thought of was Westbrook. Shout out, he's a legend. I mean, the fashion, the runways, he was a mainstay there. They just cut to the desk at the Winter Olympics, I guess, and I thought, are they going to give us news on the YouTube down, pause, the YouTube outage? But I don't think that's this type of news that they're going to be here. Denmark versus the US. Is it have to do with did somebody make a bet, chat? That's probably what it is. See, we need Woj to get in there. Pause. We need Woj to be like, somebody made a bet at YouTube that if if US got Denmark in curling, then they would flip the switch, and then all of a sudden the whole system's gonna be. Would they get a YouTube outage for 24 hours on an Olympic bet? I don't know. You think I'm crazy, but you could see it. I think it could be anybody at any level too that could make that bet. I guess. I take that back. It obviously wouldn't be executives that would make that bet, because they wouldn't want to, lose the business for 24 hours. But you get and I guess, shout out. This is not an anti-worker statement. We're just saying that, I guess, in maybe a relatable way, you could see a situation. Again, I guess, if YouTube's going down for 24 hours, pause. Like, would you want to compromise YouTube for yourself? That would be the part of the bet. You're like, well, also I can't use it. Maybe the guy that made the bet, though, maybe he knows the way to, rig it so he can get in there, and maybe his YouTube is still okay, so it doesn't actually matter for him. But now we all have to suffer because of it. I don't know. So maybe we'll see if we can get a guy in IT to run down there and figure out what's going on. But there should just be an industry name that we should know, I guess. And I guess I don't want to start saying other, like, trusted news people and then, bring them up in this light. Again, it's a different type of thing. I guess I always imagine Woj being on the scene, like literally like a Batman type of guy, just like he is popping up everywhere. Pause. Like he is, I think it was a little bit more on the phones with him as well. Again, I think he is, when the opportunities present themselves, he's doing the networking, he's shaking hands, he's getting in there. What do they say? Is it rubbing elbows, bumping elbows? I think both of those could probably go either way for meeting people and meeting people. Hey, yo, meeting people and meeting people. Oh, chat. Hey, yo, YouTube was going to test the last channel up on YouTube. They're going to take us down after that. Hey, yo, that was crazy. But again, I think it could be, what were we talking about, chat? Hey, yo, Woj getting in there and networking with people. He does do the job of actually being on location at all the events. He is hustling. Again, he was the best in the business. We were spoiled. We were literally spoiled. I guess that was one of the things that you take for granted of the quote unquote best days of the NBA. I guess, you do look back at obviously like a year like 2016 in the NBA, and it's like, and I guess it being 2026, maybe, I don't know, anniversary stuff this year for 20, I guess. Wait a second. So the 2015-16. Oh, I guess I wasn't even thinking about that, chat. Hey, yo, we weren't even locked into the schedule. It would be the 10 years of the I was just gonna say the great finals. Hey, yo, the Warriors Cavs, the 3-1 series. I think that's just what it's called, right? The 3-1 series. I guess you could call it the LeBron block series, but I think it's just the 3-1 series. Obviously, I mean that's the defining 3-1 deficit overturn in NBA history at this point, the only one that's happened in the finals. So I guess in reference to the finals, the 3-1 series, it does really make sense there for sure as well too. But just in terms of like a definition for it, I think that does kind of maybe just be like maybe just like a natural kind of phrase that people grab. Again, just an easy one, obviously, but just the way that maybe people have just kind of naturally referred to it over the last decade or so, a decade since. And I mean, shout out, obviously, LeBron stuff. I mean, Clay, Draymond even. I mean, obviously there's, shout out to the different types of stat lines there, the players that we named. But the fact that Draymond is in the league 10 years, and again, still playing. I know that, it's maybe a different thing now than it was 10 years ago. Again, game 7 of the finals 10 years ago, he was, at times the best player on the court. He had 35 points in that game. I mean, it was incredible. It was one of the, I mean, I guess, doing finals retroactive now necessarily, but that was to defend, I guess, for Draymond's sake, because, again, I guess do LeBron and Curry, and Clay doesn't really need defending right now as well, too. I mean, maybe the stats are different on the court, but I think Clay is, again, I think Clay, the decade run for Clay at this point is doing, it's going okay. So, to defend Draymond a little bit, again, you go back, that was, for us, again, the teams that are competing against Draymond, I mean, fortunately, for Draymond, for us anyways, for me personally, Zaza Pachulia was the one that, I can't believe we say his name, IT, cut that out, hey, yo. We didn't mean literally cut the mic, IT. Hey, yo, too late. We already said the name. But, again, he was the one that obviously, we can't say ruined the Spurs dynasty. I mean, it was a good team for sure. It was Kawhi doing a great job, and they were, competing very well in that first game. But again, definitely compromised the any advantage that or any chance that we did have in that series. But, you do have that competitor annoyance when you're going up against a guy like Draymond in a series, and just in terms of that respect, as a competitor, talking about, as fans, like we're in there, competing in the game, but just as as rooting against him, you do have that respect. And I guess, were we rooting against him in the finals? I don't know, but just, again, putting yourself in that mindset of like, okay, if you're going out rooting this guy game 7, like he just went out and dropped 35, like there's really nothing that you can say about him in terms of, I guess you could obviously look at the stats again in playoff series, the 3-point percentages and all different stuff, and make your case offensively. But those are the games that can really overturn all that stuff, because you're like, okay, I get that. Yeah, it is what it is in terms of, again, the collection of the games. But and I know, again, he also had his moments in terms of flailing around and fouls and stuff like that were costly as well too. But I mean, he did everything he could in that game. That was, I mean, in terms of I guess that's the part that doesn't get brought up as well too. I don't know. This is classic, Rem and Sam pod behavior. Once, hey, a player as, again, we'll say controversial, but obviously is NBA controversial as well too. If you're going to be controversial, I guess you don't want to necessarily be a dirty player, but also, if in the world of controversial, like, obviously, again, NBA, is that a flagrant foul? Like that's, obviously I think, probably where you want to be there. But for us defending him now that the career, the numbers are in a different spot, you start looking at the trade value, you start looking at what happens with the rosters, and it's like, okay, like I get that it is what it is now, but and it is fair, I guess, jokes to be made. Again, it's all in the moment for sure. I'm not taking away from it, but it's like, this is again one of the part of the great trios in NBA history. Obviously, great quartets as well too. Great teams. Once, of course, they got Durant, but I mean, of course, it's Durant joining that team, and that team themselves are great because of it. And I don't know if we mentioned this on the pod or not, on a recent live stream, but this definitely was something I was thinking about. I feel like maybe we did, but I don't know. But thinking about, how, again, like how the success of that team with Durant, obviously you can't take those finals away from Durant. Like we're saying, like, he was great in those finals, and it was, awesome that he was able to offensively deliver at the end of those games as well too. And then just to be as efficient as he was against LeBron. And again, obviously he has the team around him, all those different things, but for him to, have a season where he actually makes that type of playoff run with him, I guess the level of him making a playoff run as a best player, it is interesting, obviously, to look back at in NBA history, because I was also thinking about, I'm always thinking about, am I always thinking about, but I maybe once a week or so, I don't know, is this in the stats of like what guys think about, what do they think, how many minutes a week do they think about Kevin Durant versus LeBron? But I mean, we always talk about, of course, how we're thinking about, of course, the legacies of guys, but then the on-court matchup factors of the guys as well too. And Durant is one of the, I guess you couldn't say maybe extremes of that, but one of the good examples of that, of course, where, again, if not to, again, take away just two, especially 2 rings, they're taking away multiple rings from anybody. It's like, okay, just stripping away a guy's whole legacy at this point, like, is not totally fair. But, again, in terms of the basketball talent, I mean, you start checking the boxes of what they can do physically, pause on the basketball court, and it's like, obviously, the Venn diagram there between LeBron and Durant is like extremely close. Like, like what skill set, obviously, the physicality that LeBron had over the course of his career, and then, maybe I guess you know what the overall athleticism, but again, at the end of the day, it's like the scoring. I guess LeBron's playmaking obviously would be the other thing as well. I guess the rebounding. Again, obviously the Venn diagram. It is over. What do we do with the hands here, Jeff? But a little bit over, but it's like 80. It's like 92% the skill set. So it's pretty close. But obviously, again, if you just think about even taking teams to the finals as being the quote unquote best player, it's obviously becomes a little bit of a separating thing at that point. But yeah, Ayo, shout out Draymond. That's what we were talking about. Shout out Draymond. So yeah, I don't even remember why we were talking about Draymond in the first place. Something about the decade since the NBA Finals. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing NBA Finals anniversary. I mean, those will be just great games, obviously, to go back and rewatch. Ayo, and I mean that whole playoffs as well too. I mean, that's why obviously. Oh, and we were just. I mean, yeah, to walk back the whole trail. Is that a pause? I'm not sure, but for obviously how great that season was. I guess what were you saying originally? Like we're not necessarily like too down on the current era. I guess again the greatness of those seasons obviously is definitely to be noted. But obviously we enjoy the current times as well too. The games are fun, the players are great, the league is totally stacked with talent, and I mean, the Spurs are good, so that's exciting for us as well too. But I mean, obviously we can't deny how good the league was a decade ago, so that will be fun to go back and revisit. And like we were saying, is the whole playoffs was pretty fun that year. I mean just in terms of the Western Conference Finals and then the finals alone, I mean those are two. Do you say that? I mean, I don't know if you say the two best playoff series of the 21st century, but they're definitely up there. They are definitely up there. I think obviously the weight of the 2016 finals, I mean, it could be, it's probably just, again, the single greatest. I mean, it's not an argument to maybe say it's the single greatest finals of all time, again, just because of the 3-1 deficit and also as well too, again, LeBron and the whole Cleveland historic angle of it as well too. But for the 3-1 deficit in the Western Conference Finals as well too, and then just again the storyline of Durant joining that team later and what it meant for his career, and obviously Westbrook, and then even the lineage of the end of that trio as well too in that Presti era. And I mean, yes, they lost that trio. Do you give him credit for losing the trio? But I mean, Presti gets credit for building the team back up, so it's like I guess you get credit for the sustained run. So you have a great team for 20 years. I guess it doesn't matter, if you keep around your veterans for 20 years or, you build two teams or whatever in that time stretch. But yeah, shout out to the 2015-16 season. But I guess the NBA is an all-star break right now. So there is no NBA on in the background. We get a monstrous return on Thursday, Friday, over the weekend. It will be fun to, have the NBA back. But, and, Ayo, obviously the All-Star weekend ended well as well too with the All-Star game. And the fact that the All-Star Saturday ended up being in the middle of the day, like, yes, it was bad, but people would have missed it maybe if it was good. So it's like, okay, I guess maybe the fact that it just again was bad, it's like, okay, maybe it can just be hidden in the fact that it was like, okay, it had to be a little bit of not a throwaway All-Star weekend, but they were definitely mixing up the programming, having the Olympics in there as well too. And obviously that is, only an occasional overlap with those different sporting events. But yeah, it will be of course a couple days before we get the NBA back, and we were going to maybe do a player ranking, NBA sort of midseason all-star player ranking, which maybe we'll dabble in as well too. But Bleacher Report we did see they dropped a top 100 player or top 100 quarterback list ranking. So we do love a good list. So anytime we can react to a list, and especially a list of this, do we say of this magnitude? A top 100 quarterback ranking is no small list. Pause. I mean, obviously a big list, but just straight up the top 100 quarterbacks of all time, not something, I guess, they'll probably drop one again next year. But will we react to it next year? We probably will. It is what it is. Because who will be the biggest, the risers? Pause. I don't know. I wonder who would be the biggest, who are the biggest, pause, whoa, what are we trying to say, Chad? I don't know. Who are the most interesting career retrospectives? Because, again, if you're thinking about and we haven't even seen this list just as well too, but if you're thinking about a website like Bleacher Report tasked with doing this type of thing every year, again, there's going to be obviously a lot of guys in the top 100 list that their legacies are set in stone at this point for what they have accomplished. They're retired, obviously, maybe, the legends that have even, moved on at this point, rest in peace. But for, guys that maybe, I don't know, with the way that we play football now, if it sort of has redone their image in terms of what their game was or what their impact was on the field. And, are we going to sit here and say that, we watched film of like all these guys as well too? I mean, that would, watching it is obviously going to be the number one thing that is going to be the determining factor of the opinion there. But it'd be curious looking at these types of lists, and again, there's going to be the movement as well too, just because you have new guys in the list. So there's going to be guys going up and down that way. But for the guys that maybe, again, just you look back and go, I wonder if we need to evaluate that career a little bit differently, that maybe gets into hypothetical as well too. Do we evaluate like, maybe this could have been different, and then you're kind of looking at the potential of it a little bit as well too. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily have like a great example as well too of who would be that guy, because I feel like a lot of guys that I would name, I don't know like necessarily how majorly they would have changed overall in the rankings. And maybe it's just my personal as well too, just viewing of certain quarterbacks through NFL history. Because I know and again, obviously a guy like Steve Young, like I want to say like, again, for me, like, solidifying pause, like, viewing Steve Young as a top 10 quarterback of all time has definitely been something that, over the last couple of years has definitely been, if I was making a list, I'd be more inclined to put in there. And again, not saying that we were like, is Steve Young, like the 35th best quarterback of all time. It's just not necessarily a name that we would have been compelled to always have in the argument there. But now with a lot of the dual threat stuff and, obviously you do have to, I guess, balance the fact that, obviously the start of the career was what it was, but it's like the end of the career was just as good, obviously, as anybody's start of the career. So just the backwards career, like obviously at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. But a guy like I don't know, like would Moreno, always be over Steve Young on QB lists? And Steve Young does have a couple of Super Bowls, so I don't know. Again, maybe we just have to look it up, and maybe they're already ranking it that way. And I feel like a lot of those guys are, again, they're pretty close. So I don't know if Moreno, Elway, are we saying Young over Elway? Like, I guess Elway wasn't 5. So, now again, we're just kind of getting into our own personal rankings. But top 100, when we saw the Instagram preview for the Bleacher Report post, I mean, we're back. There we go. Not to spoil anything, but I guess we did see Kirk Cousins was 71. So there is going to be a 71st on the list. So there is going to be, of course, some fun names here to go through. We lost the page. Can we get it back? Are we back? Oh, wait a second. No, we're not back. I just pulled up some weird double page format in the tab that I'm looking at. Okay, wait a second. I might have to get a new web page going. We messed it up. It is what it is. We'll restart the web page and then find the Bleacher Report ranking and get into the list and see what we have got here. And I think there is no spoilers once we get near the top of the list. Of course, the quarterback does have the definite number 1. We should probably be specific. Top 100 QBs. Let's see if we got it here. And that's right. They actually only ranked 99. I guess, do they have like a hypothetical 100 spot? Let's see what they say here. Stats. Pro Football Reference. Shout out. I guess, do we put the names up of the people that ranked it? I don't know. It just says their staff. Pause. But if it was a measurable, we considered it. If it happened between the ears, we baked it in too. Bonus points for trendsetters and mold breakers. Okay, because while stats and awards matter, sometimes sheer talent transcends all that. See, Chad, we love talent on the Rev and Sam pod. We love just, highlights. We're big highlights guys. But that's why we're reading the article backwards. It is what it is. That's why the debate over who the best player ever to do it needs to cool. But how do you decide who belongs when you're stacking legends like Manning and Mahomes? Hey, yo, Breeze and Montana, and obviously, Mahomes now in the mix, just as it stands right now. I mean, we were saying after, going back a couple years after he won that third Super Bowl, where it's like he could retire now, arguably a top 5 quarterback in NFL history. Just again, like who has 3 Super Bowls at the level of production that he has had? So I know that, he hasn't had maybe the amount of years that some of these guys have had. So you're like, oh, the longevity of Breeze. Well, it's like Breeze didn't, in what, like 16 years with with all due respect, with some respect to Breeze, because he did, of course, get that win over the Colts in the Super Bowl. But, with some respect to Breeze, like he, didn't accomplish in the playoffs, just in general, the totality of his career did not accomplish in the playoffs what Mahomes was able to accomplish in the playoffs up till now. So, again, you have to just automatically include him in the list with some of these guys. Montana, shout out. Obviously, we were saying that, after Mahomes lost the last Super Bowl, that maybe, I guess Montana is the one that is, he's going with the Mahomes performance right now. If Mahomes has a bad season, then Montana jumps over him as the better quarterback all time. If Mahomes has a good season, then, Montana he couldn't run. So then Mahomes has to be the better quarterback at that point. And then you rank him over that. But again, Mahomes right now, torn ACL. Does Montana have a torn ACL right now? I'm not sure. So I think Montana has to be the better all-time quarterback at this moment. But the list starts with Tannehill, chat. Hey, yo, Ryan Tannehill, top 100 quarterbacks. I mean, again, 100 quarterbacks is a lot. But also, there's 30 starting quarterbacks at a time, and we've had, 60 some Super Bowls. So I don't know what kind of math we're trying to get at here. Are we trying to kick Ryan Tannehill off the list? I mean, no disrespect to Ryan Tannehill. Okay, they have the Pro Bowls listed on here. One-time Pro Bowler. I guess that's kind of where I'm curious, is just in terms of those accolades. I guess we can't assume now, but do we assume that everybody on the list has made a Pro Bowl? But then what does that mean? Is Mitchell Trubisky going to be the 92nd best quarterback of all time? Because doesn't Mitchell Trubisky have multiple Pro Bowls? He might. Tannehill with 1 Pro Bowl. I mean, Tannehill with maybe a little better playoff run, but also, maybe Derrick Henry with the playoff run. I don't know. It became the norm. Titans showcased ability with 1,200 yards in the ground. He holds the Miami Dolphins franchise record for most rushing yards by a QB. I mean, again, very specific. But and Miami, I guess, weirdly, maybe not a lot of mobile quarterbacks in their career. I'm trying to think. Again, Moreno, obviously, for a long span there. But a lot of the guys that they had in that 70s run, I feel like were quick drop back guys as well, too. I mean, I feel like maybe a lot of the guys in the 70s were in general. But then, Pennington, maybe moving on. Did I see, was Pennington one of the guys in the Bleacher Report slide on the post? I don't know if I want to look it back up and spoil it, but I do want to see if Pennington is on the list. I've been watching a lot of Chad Pennington highlights lately. I don't know why. Some Randy Moss. Just obsessed with Marshall football as of late. But, okay, Trubisky did make 1 Pro Bowl. So maybe Trubisky's not on the list. I'm not sure. But, shout out Tannehill, obviously, some really good seasons there. 34,000 career pass yards, 216 touchdowns. So, I mean, maybe we're underrating him a little bit. 81-70. I guess, I just would have, and again, I guess, it is what it is. I would have just assumed there's 100 quarterbacks better than Tannehill. So maybe there's some guys now as well, too. Maybe that's what I'm kind of thinking of. Like, would Caleb Williams, or so, am I just assuming that because he hasn't played as many years yet that he is a quote unquote better quarterback? Am I already like locking in Fernando Mendoza as one of the top 100 quarterbacks of all time? Like, he's obviously better than Tannehill, but again, he hasn't played the career yet, obviously, at this point. But shout out, and he did win, I guess, comeback player of the year, so that is like an individual award. I don't know if that includes, if that like bumps up the advanced stats in some type of way, but it's a different field Obviously, the injury, the players returning from injury is probably the one category of people that you want to be competing against versus, rookie of the year is literally like everybody, starting their career off. Everybody's, everybody's hungry. Everybody is like maybe athletically, obviously maybe not at the peak of their powers yet, but athletically still kind of in their prime. Comeback player of the year, everybody's hurt, everybody's old, everybody's injured. It's like, okay, the quarterback, if he plays 12 starts, he's probably gonna win the award. It is what highest ranking 77. Somebody had him as a top 75. Again, I guess that's, and not to do the numbers here too much, but you go, I guess if we're doing the all-time quarterback or all-time franchise teams at that point, 32 starting, the top 32 quarterbacks would be like the starting quarterbacks from NFL history, but then the top 64, that's your next, those are all your backups right there as well too. So like Tannehill, somebody almost had Tannehill as like, one of the, like a second team all-starter. Like I know that's a big tier of guys, again, like 30 quarterbacks, but still in some ways kind of not as well, but shout out. So I guess, not to just rip apart Tannehill there. Danny White, number 98. Is this 70s run? Do we have years? Here, 13 years, 21,000 yards, a Super Bowl champion, and a Pro Bowler. So, same as Tannehill, but Danny White's Tannehill with the Super Bowl? He might be. Because I think he did have Tony Dorsett as his running back, maybe a little different stylistically than Derrick Henry, but still both, obviously great all-time running backs. And I guess I never knew Danny White won a, I don't know how many people besides Cowboys fans had that locked in, but I don't know. I didn't realize that he won a Super Bowl by himself as a starter. Number 5 in MVP voting in 82. And he was also a punter as well, too. So this is, 80s. I guess maybe, I feel like by the 90s, some of the dual threat guys had kind of, you don't really have any of those guys anymore. The kicker quarterback was definitely a common one. But, you also had, I feel like, maybe like tight end, like left guard or left end type of situations from back in the day as well too. Some offensive, go way back obviously, and you got, running back, you got guys just play like 7 different spots on the field. But Danny White, starting punter, starting quarterback for the Cowboys. But what year did he get the Super Bowl? Oh, the 77. So 3 games play. He was 1 for 3. So yeah, I don't know about that Super Bowl championship there. I don't know about that. Again, shout out. He's got the ring. I mean, he could, we could fly him in. IT, can we check the budget? Can we fly Danny White in to show us his Super Bowl ring? Like, he could definitely prove to us that, he has it. I guess, assuming he's still with us. Shout out. Yeah, shout out Danny White. Obviously he's still doing good there, but it did have some good playoff moments, I guess, maybe for the Cowboys. Like, had a good 4 years here, where he did start multiple. I guess 83 they lost, but 2-1, 1-2, or 1-1, 2-1 there as well. So again, they were a competitive team, but yeah, I think this was Staubach's team in 77, 12-2. Hey a nice amount of games. Dorsett, also a little bit Dorsett's team, but offensive rookie of the year, I guess. So he had just gotten there that year. 1,007 yards, 12 touchdowns. And then Staubach making the Pro Bowl at 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns as well, too. Charlie Waters at safety. Shout out. So, yeah, Danny White. I mean, again, the versatility you got to give him credit for, I guess. It is what it is. Oh, and I guess 82 was the strike season, so that's why he would only have had the 9 games there, I guess. So that does make sense, but I don't know if that gets too much. 54. Oh, so there we go. Danny White would have been a top backup in this scenario. Unranked as well, too. 54. Somebody's biased. There's definitely some age ranges here. Probably, we need, like, who's the oldest guy on staff on the, on this Bleacher Report ranking? Mark Rippon? Here we go. Mark Rippon's a starter. Yeah, I feel like I feel like if Danny White and Ryan Tannehill, no disrespect, but again, Mark Rippon, yeah, he actually won a Super Bowl. He was actually the starting quarterback when they got there. Yeah, there we go, MVP. It's the Super Bowl MVP. So actually, he played well in the game. 2 Pro Bowls. So maybe not the whole career per se, perchance. I don't know, but 18,000 yards, still good touchdown, interception ratio there. And again, obviously, you have to go through a lens of the efficiency back in the day was a little bit different. So some of those numbers are not going to be as compatible with today. I guess he's the first quarterback listed that has played for the Colts, so I don't know if we're biased there. His highest ranking was 79. I guess, see, we need to watch more Mark Rippon games. Maybe he just wasn't that good, but he just had a good Super Bowl. I don't know. I guess, speaking of Washington quarterbacks, is Doug Williams going to be on this list? Because he was also, I mean, shout out the Joe Gibbs era. He did win a couple I think he won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different starting quarterbacks. But Doug Williams, again, maybe a little up and down career in the regular season, but had a phenomenal Super Bowl as well. Is that this is the Super Bowl where they got the Broncos? Yeah, hey, I mean, obviously Broncos fans kind of try not to remember that one, but in terms of, obviously Doug Williams is, a legendary guy, so again, great performance, legendary stuff there. But I mean, I feel like if Rippon is on the list, Williams 16,000 yards, 100 touchdowns, 93 interceptions. See, if Rippon's on the list with these qualifications, I feel like Williams should be on the list. With all due respect to Danny White and Tannehill, Williams has got to be on this list too. I mean, for just the Super Bowl performance alone, maybe. But yeah, and a ranking of 79. Craig Morton. Oh, Chet. Hey, yo. They don't make them like this anymore. Quarterbacks with this haircut, shout out. I feel like maybe do we force some quarterbacks to grow out their hair where they would have this haircut? I mean, there's like a Jude Law. Like, could Jude Law play Craig Morton in the bio? They didn't. Hollywood didn't like that one. They cut the mic. Okay, YouTube. I guess strike 3, or strike 2. I don't know, but Super Bowl champion, played Cowboys and Broncos. I think it should have Super Bowl appearances on here. I guess how detailed do you want to get with the numbers? But playoff records, something. Because, Morton was like a feisty playoff guy. Before Tom Brady made starts for New England and Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, there was Craig Morton. Oh, wait, so is that just a quarterback to call, be a quarterback for multiple different Super Bowl teams, even though, only won one. Highest ranking 64. So somebody really loved. I mean, Danny White maybe was one of those. There might be a couple guys that now that I'm thinking of as well too. I mean, one of them I just thought if he has to be on the list. There's no way he's not. But there might be a couple guys where, again, speaking of the highlights, like I'm gonna be curious now. Danny White punting highlights, but maybe the guy just misunderstood the list. He's like, well, of course Danny White's one of the 55 best punters of all time. There's no doubt. I guess if you see the leg on this guy's a big old pause, but in terms of punter talk, but shout out Craig Morton, good starting quarterback, one of the again, speaking of Kirk Cousins, I guess in Kirk Cousins 71 according to the graphic, like Craig Morton is better than Kirk Cousins. I stand on that, chat, and I don't even really know any Craig Morton highlights, but Craig Morton's been again in a couple Super Bowls. So I'm going to say that Craig Morton, with all due respect to Kirk Cousins, Craig Morton's better than Kirk. Here, let's just do one quick stat check for our guy Craig. Who was the last quarterback named Craig as well too? Would be interesting. Super Bowl champion, and there were maybe a little words from back then. So you see, Pro Football Writers. Oh, that's the comeback player of the year again, but UPI AFC MVP, and then the 77 Sports Nation Player of the Year as well too. So he did have a nice run in the NFL, 18 years. So did put up the stats as well too, and got into the MVP voting later. So again, I would have on this list as well. I would have like conference championship appearances, Super Bowl appearances, and MVP finishes. Pause. Maybe that's in there with kind of Pro Bowl, All Pro. Obviously, all those things are you're in that sphere. But he could have won the MVP in 77. Again, he was second in the MVP. So that would have been Walter Payton. Was he? Oh, he tied with Bob Greasy. I was gonna say he was the best quarterback in the league, but tied for the best quarterback in the league. I guess you do have Stabler in the league this year as well too. I'm assuming Stabler might be one of the 32. Honestly, he Hall of Famer, one-time All-Pro, 74 MVP. But Stabler's just kind of a legendary guy as well too. So again, he might just have like cool guy status that gets him into the top 32 spot. But this year, I like was Kirk Cousins ever the best quarterback in the league? Like Craig Morton was balling out. So shout out. We'll respect the 70s runs and these like football card style images from back in the day as well too. I mean, these are iconic. They could definitely, they need to recreate this kind of color grading, and they were like very sky dominant as well too. Some of these cards. So I don't know. There's just like a nice background situation that's going on there. Jeff Hostetler. So this is 95. This is a good ranking right here, chat. This is a good ranking. Good, solid backup pause. 2-time Super Bowl champion, but he was, again, a backup there for one of them with Phil Simms. But who knows? Maybe if we watch the highlights, maybe he was almost as good as Phil Simms. Like, I don't want to disrespect Simms. I guess we'll see where he pops up on the list. He might be in the 64. What are the rankings? So we've got the, I guess now I have to do math. What are we, 64? The 96. So, he's a third stringer. Here we go, an all-time third stringer for our guy Hostetler, if we're saying that right. But Super Bowl champs for Phil Simms. Two Pro Bowls for Simms as well too. And I guess the stats 33,000 yards. He was cooking, chat, for the 80s. I guess 79 to 93, 33K. Put some respect on Phil Simms in there. 4,000 yards in 84. Is not bad. So yeah, he'll be a little bit higher up on the list. So, again, could get the job done when you needed him to. That's obviously a very important thing. But what do you say? The Super Bowl run, I guess, wasn't his only claim to fame. He joined the Raiders in 93 and went 33-22 over 55 starts. So I was going to say a little like Matt Flynn, but I think better. Matt Flynn, not in the top 100. There's a guy that's not in the top 100, but that's kind of good. I keep seeing this Packers best available QBs, Malik Willis. I keep thinking like Jordan Love. Like is Jordan Love like better? We keep bringing up Tannehill. Tannehill, call in and defend yourself. What would we say if we were next to Tannehill? The REMINGTOM pod tells Ryan Tannehill why he's not a top 100 quarterback of all time. I don't know if is that the type of live stream that we'll be doing? I'm not sure. Pause. But I guess that's what's happening. But I just keep thinking of names like that. So again, obviously Tannehill, I guess, better career at this point, though. I don't know. Maybe Jordan Love's up there with passing yards at this point. Again, with how it works. 4,000 yards for 5 years, and you're at 20,000 yards already. Yeah, we can do math there. But shout out. A winning quarterback. 55 starts, no small sample size. Made a Pro Bowl in 94. So give him a little bit. Wait a second. Didn't make a ton of mistakes. Had a career regular season winning percentage of 61.5%, higher than Moreno's. So I'm assuming Moreno's is still probably high 50s, though maybe, who knows, it tailed off later in their career. I mean, obviously, they're just, it's one of those, it's a Thaddeus Young type stat. It is what it is. It is, obviously to make the case, but again, it proves the fact that he was a really, really good starter. And speaking of Kirk Cousins, chat, again, I mean, Kirk Cousins has got to be, with all due respect, did we say Mark Rippon? So he's got to be in the 90s as well too. It is what it is. They're basically saying that he probably would have been a Super Bowl winning quarterback in the right situation. I don't know, but I guess spoilers as well too. They did have Dak pretty high, so I think. But again, Dak over Hostetler, I don't know. I know that we don't know, I guess, all the names of guys above the list, and I guess we could do some theoretical, would you rather's. Fran Tarkington versus Hostetler. I don't know, but. Some of the modern guys that have the padded stats, but a little lacking on the accolades. And again, if Dak was, I guess, if he was in Kansas City, obviously this would be like the best. This would be like Simms and Hostetler 2-0. Ayo, shout out. Obviously, Dak to Mahomes, but Dak to Hostetler, I think is a fair comparison there. Are we even saying his name right? We're just throwing out a name. It is what it is. Hostetler. Yeah, JH. I don't know, but if he had been on, or Philly, not to put him to the rival, but if he had been on Philly both of the years where Carson Wentz had gotten hurt, or or maybe, I guess, Jalen Hurts has been in 2 Super Bowls now, so if they had won both of them, but if he had been in the backup as the first one where Jalen Hurts plays really well and they win that one, backup in the second one, Jalen Hurts is not in that one, he wins it, obviously, just laying the scenario back out, but I think that he is a little bit more consistent. I mean, more consistent as a starter. over the course of his career, but maybe a little higher playoff potential as well too. But definitely one of the best. Like maybe just what, like I don't know how high the baseline is for this guy. Again, maybe what is his highest rank here? 57. So somebody had him right 3 spots behind Danny White. I wonder if it was the same guy. Jeff Hostetler and Danny White. It seems like maybe it could be a similar thought process there. But Kerry Collins, see, I don't know. Like Collins, maybe had more run as a startler. I don't know, as a starter than Hostetler, but is he definitely better? I don't know. He might have been a higher draft pick as well too. 17 seasons and had a great run as like Kerry Collins, good backup as well too. I don't say that disrespectfully. Like if you were drafting him on your team, you're getting again good starting minute. Made a Super Bowl, even though that Ravens defense was going to probably destroy any non. They were gonna probably win that game regardless, or their defense was going to obviously make life difficult for any quarterback, but they were going to destroy any not top probably 16 quarterback of all time. I don't know. We'd have to, I guess, see what the lists are. But like again, even jumping up to 50, I guess where did they have Dak at in the Instagram post? 59. Like, Dak is not going to do much better against that Ravens defense with all due respect. And I would much rather have him going into that game than Kerry Collins, I think. But still, that defense, I'd rather have the defense going into the game. It is what it is. But 4,000 yards as well too. 0-2. You had a couple of interception years in here. 11 and 21 in 97, and then 21 and 20 in 2004. That's why I almost wondered, chat, do we just wait and just do this? Do we even need a top 100 quarterback list now? Hey, yo, does he have a higher? I guess 208 to 96. Does everybody on this list better have a higher touchdown than interception ratio if they slip? And I guess it would be in the 90s. Once we start getting 82 and above, I would assume that happens. Oh, chat. What is it? Early in his career, Collins suffered from alcoholism, which factored into abrupt end of his tenure with Carolina. Oh, chat, that's terrible. But did they have to include that? I don't know. But after a short stop with the Saints, Collins took over for Kent Graham midway through the 99 season. Oh, but then he bounced back to make the Giants Super Bowl after that. So he did have a moment in his career as well too. Shout out. Again, made up for it a little bit there. But Carolina, yeah, 5th in the 95 draft. Who else do we have here in 95? Oh, Kajana Carter, if I'm saying that name right. Tony Baselli, Steve McNair. Ooh, I guess he would have been off the board at that point. And then Michael Westbrook, the receiver. Kerry Collins, Kevin Carter, defensive end. Yeah, as I say, 104 career sacks. It might have been the move. Joey Galloway, shout out. Oh, Warren Sapp, number 12. For quarterbacks, no other quarterbacks taken in the first round. Is there anybody else of note here? Oh, so Kerry Collins, I mean, he was the number 1 quarterback in terms of pass yards from the class. I think McNair won I would assume McNair would be higher than Kerry Collins. He better be on the list. I guess that should be another factor. Everybody that won a league MVP should be on this list. Hey, yo, so Steve McNair, half a league MVP, with all due respect, half a league MVP in 2002 or 3 with Peyton Manning. So, again, having a share of that should definitely automatically qualify him to get on the list. Justin Herbert, 93. The writers were going to have Justin Herbert at 93. It is what it is. They have an offensive rookie of the year on here. I guess, did any of the other guys win it? And, the quarterback career arc was maybe a little bit different back then. But still, shout out. And again, the talent over a guy like, I guess, Kerry Collins, or who else do we have here? Hostetler. Like, Herbert, probably more talented than Hostetler, but that's what I'm saying. Would you definitely rather have Herbert in a playoff game over Hostetler? If we were doing an all-time playoff QB ranking, like, again, there is just a safety. Like, he was in a lot of playoff games. He literally won a Super Bowl. Nick Foles maybe has a little bit of that same argument, but I don't know. And he was, again, pretty good. Is Nick Foles good? Nick Foles, I actually think Nick Foles should be on this list. Hey, yo, no disrespect to Tannehill, but Nick Foles is a better quarterback than Tannehill. I think you do have to play a little bit of situation there. I think, like, Herbert, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he could have won that Super Bowl. You did have to play lights out in that game to get to Brady. So I'm not going to just say that, you had to walk through a game and be part of that defense, blah, 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 blah. It's not like, bringing up that 2000s Ravens defense, with all due respect to Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer's probably not going to be in the top 100. It is what it is. And I mean, we're at 93. Herbert's at 93. Trent Dilfer's probably not going to be over Justin Herbert. So I don't know if he would have been in the 93 to 100 range, but I was looking at stats from that playoff run a couple weeks ago, and I guess when I was looking at some of the Super Bowl stuff and thinking about the Seahawks defense, and I saw like the AFC divisional game from that year. Again, not to be a snitch, but Dilfer was 5 for 16 in that game. So it's stats, you can go look them up, but IT, we'll cut that out later for just because it's like, whoa, 5 for 16 is crazy. But Herbert, I think, could have won the Super Bowl that year probably if he was a quarterback in that team. But still needs a little bit of the career still to form here. 24,000 pass yards though already. Obviously, I guess 6 seasons though for our guy Herbert. And again, Mahomes 7 seasons, 3 Super Bowls. Herbert 6 seasons, 1 offensive rookie of the year in his career. Highest ranking of 54. So Danny White, Justin Herbert, I guess not the same there. Burt Jones. That was one of the guys that I was thinking earlier that like has to be a automatic lock if like Tannehill was on this list. And he did win a league MVP. Shout out. One of the great quarterbacks in Colts history. One of the great highlight guys. Maybe I do want to say he might be my favorite Colts quarterbacks highlights to watch. I mean, the Manning highlights are great as well too. I mean, Andrew Luck. Johnny Unitas. The Colts have obviously have had great quarterbacks over their career, but nobody could rip it like Burt Jones. The man, can we say he had a cannon? Pause. I mean, I guess was his win? Oh, Chad, he's got a losing record. Oh, the first quarterback on the list with a losing record is our Colts quarterback. So, now we have to take back everything we said about winning records and touchdown. I think we said touchdown to interception ratio, though, not record. But we probably should have said record, so we'll ignore it for this one. But again, he won a league MVP, so it kind of cancels each other out, the All-Pro that year. And he did, I guess he played 10 years, but he had some injuries as well, too. Yeah, Burt Jones' prime was robbed to injuries. Otherwise, he'd be more fondly remembered among the game's greatest quarterbacks. And, I don't want to, do, the thing here as well, too, because for himself personally, you know what? He probably rather would have been playing, at his maximum health back in the day all the time. But it actually might be a little better for his career and I guess, again, better, quote unquote. But there is, I guess, I should say, a silver lining to it. Because this is how he does get remembered. He'd be remembered among the game's greatest. I'm getting too excited here talking about Burt Jones. We never bring him up. We got to do a Burt Jones episode. When's his birthday, chat? We're going to do a Burt Jones game rewatch at some point. But maybe a little like Brandon Roy. You might be like, whoa, now Brandon Roy. That might be a name that's, a little too good. Brandon Roy never won a league MVP. So maybe a little better competition when he was playing. But again, Burt Jones was cooking that year. And he was, just in terms of, again, the eye test, how fun he was to watch. Pretty electric, chat. Running around. He rifled his way. Rifled. I mean, again, it's just unstoppable. Highest ranking of 62. I think he's got to be in the top 50. 92. I mean, again, obviously, maybe the losing record. That's honestly fair for him to make the list as well too. Trent Green, 2 Pro Bowls, another losing record. So I don't know, what are we doing here? What are we doing? The winning percentage is the same. I get he played, I guess 1 more year, so he did have better stats, but he played at a different time, and again, per game, what do we go per passing attempt? What's the EPA on Burt Jones versus Trent Green? Trent Green was, again, in a Kirk Cousins type of way, a really, really good starting quarterback. And this is, again, probably the range where Kirk Cousins needs to be. But, and what does it say? Had the opportunity. That's who it was. I was going to say he had a Brady-like thing happen in his career, but then I couldn't remember who the quarterback was that subbed in for him, so I avoided saying it. But yeah, Kurt Warner. It says here, of course, as we read, quote, of course, Green missed the entire 1999 season with a knee injury, which allowed Kurt Warner to get his way, to get his own opportunity and lead LA to a victory to the Super Bowl XXXIV. So maybe we need to go watch that Zachary Levi Kurt Warner movie to figure out, go remember what happened. Who played Dick Vermeule in that movie? And I think I think Kurt Warner's wife is like a name as well too. I forget, but hey yo, but maybe is that on HBO Max? I don't know, but I don't remember what it's called. But I remember seeing a lot of trailers for it, and I do remember going to the theater to see a poster for it. Of course, that was Zachary Levi post Shazam, so that was like his Doolittle. Hey yo, Downey, of course, post Iron Man. I guess post MCU. I guess it was post MCU. We should say inter MCU, mid MCU, and in MCU intermission he did Doolittle, but Zachary Levi did the Kurt Warner biopic. It might be on Disney Plus because it is like a Disney sports movie type of vibe where it's not necessarily. I guess maybe The Blind Side is in that type of vibe as well too. Guess what? We haven't gone back and rewatched that one in a while. I mean, you definitely could just to, I guess, make fun of it. I don't know if that's the appropriate thing to do about the scenario, but again, regardless, it's just not a movie that I guess we would go back. Not the number one football movie that we'd go back and watch. Maybe rest in peace our guy Vanderbeek. Shout out Varsity Blues. Of course, remember the Titans, Denzel. Maybe there's a couple. Any Given Sunday. Probably going to go to that one. Draft Day? Is that the Holy Grail? That might be. I think you're probably thinking, well, what about Jerry Maguire? But is Jerry Maguire a football movie? I don't know. And I'm also going to, it's you defend the movies that you watch. So for me, I guess, did I just name the 4 football movies that I would watch? Probably is, what's the movie that we even said to there too? See, I'm not even watching the movie. So I don't remember what I just left off the list. But, is it probably the better movie? Maybe. But again, am I watching it more? Do I want it in the top 4 as bad? Probably not. But, I guess, no, Moneyball is a baseball movie. I know there's definitely, obviously there's more. It is what it is. But regardless, yeah, shout out Trent Green. Trent Green, who played Trent Green in the Kurt Warner biopic? And was the quarterback for Kansas City the year the Colts won the Super Bowl. So the year that it was the wild card game, Larry Johnson was the running back. I think their defense was pretty fun that year. That was a fun team, and it was a pretty decent game. The Colts defense really stepped up in that playoffs, and that was a game. It was not the Colts Chiefs. Again, you don't really remember that Colts playoffs run. Again, it's not like, again, with all due respect, legendary names, but again, fun guys at the time. Again, Larry Johnson was a really great running back from that time, and I guess that was before Dwayne Bowie, and that might have been right after Priest Holmes as well too, and Dante Hall. So I mean, shout out. I guess we've always had a little Chiefs bias even before Mahomes and even before Sam. Before we knew Sam, it is what it is. But shout out. You get a win over Trent Green in the playoffs, and there's no hard feelings there. And then you win a Super Bowl that year. We remember him fondly. Shout out. So like that, maybe that's why I remember Steve McNair so fondly, because he was the Ravens quarterback that year. I guess we don't remember Brady that fondly, but we do remember Rex Grossman pretty fondly as well. So again, everybody else that one. Jim Everett. Oh, I guess I was gonna say, was he the actor? There was another Rams quarterback that was an actor, and he has to be on the list as well. Only one Pro Bowl, but you see the career stats for him are getting up there. 34,000 yards for our guy Everett. So wait, Phil Simms was what, 33K? So were you getting into Phil Simms range here? But he had a couple of Super Bowls. 12 seasons for our guy Everett. Many fans remember him for the trade that sent him to the Rams. Just for the trade. Selected 3rd overall by the Oilers, was eventually flipped for a package of players and 2 future firsts. Oh, so this was like the first big quarterback trade. The deal ended up being a good one for the Rams, who won 8 years. Who got 8 years out of the strong arm quarterback. The Purdue product started 5 games as a rookie and went on to lead Los Angeles to 3 post-game bursts and 1 appearance in the NFC title game. In '94, the Rams traded Everett to New Orleans, where he spent another 2 seasons during his 12-year career. He made 1 Pro Bowl and ranks 39th on the all-time list in yards. Got another top 50 ranking as well too in terms of his highest. So I guess the Oilers were not able to do too much with that. 86. So that would have been, when did they draft Earl Campbell? That would have been right around that time. And I guess would they have done better with Jim Everett then? Because Pastorini, I want to say, would that have been the year after? Oh, this would have been in rebuild mode. Selected third by the Oilers. So actually, that would have been the other way then. The perfect rebuild maybe of a post or post Earl Campbell Oiler team. Yeah, 85, 16 games. I guess he would have been in New Orleans at that point as well. So he wouldn't necessarily been in Houston. So they would have already been in rebuild mode. But yeah, shout out the last one in the 90s, number 90, Don Meredith, number 89, three-time Pro Bowl, one-time Burt Bell Award. I think that's like an old school MVP type award. So, the stats, of course, 17,000 yards, going to look a little differently. 9 seasons played, but 3 Pro Bowlers might be the most, honestly, at this point. So, shout out. Maybe well-deserved spot. Oh, wait, his highest? Oh, his highest. Oh, as I was saying, his highest was 99 and his lowest was, that doesn't make sense, but his highest was 65 and his lowest was unranked. That means unranked means somebody forgot about him. Unranked means somebody was definitely putting on the newer guys and some of the more maybe non-Pro Bowl, non-legacy guys than Don Meredith, but Dandy Don still ranks 6th in Cowboys pass attempts, completions, yards, and passing touchdowns. Okay, so Danny White, Staubach, Aikman, Romo, and Prescott. So, Romo. Romo will be an interesting one to see where he falls this. Whoa! Andy Dalton, top 100 quarterback of all time. We might have to give Andy Dalton a round of applause. That's a great job. 3 Pro Bowls, almost 40,000 passing yards. I guess is he still active? I guess Herbert was the first active quarterback on the list. So Andy Dalton is a better all-time quarterback than Justin Herbert. Now, see, I might have issue with that there. I don't know. He does have more Pro Bowls and I guess maybe double the passing yards. 49% win percentage. 2 ties, though. He has the most ties of any quarterback that we've seen so far. And he got the Pro Bowl as a rookie. So I guess that doesn't take away from anything. Holds franchise records in a lot of the passing yards. Ken Anderson, I think, league MVP. So I assume we'll see him. 88 for the Red Rifle. So highest ranking 63. I guess it was an aggregate versus you need like an aggregate and then one guy to like go in and clean up the list at the end and just be like, okay, wait a second. Maybe Andy Dalton just re-rank a couple spots. Norm Snead, 87, 4-time Pro Bowler, 30,000 yards, 190. Oh, chat. We got the opposite touchdown interception ratio. Oh, and the career record is in the tank. 52 and 100. He won 32% of his games. Oh, that's rough, chat. Hey, yo. That's just misery the entire time. And just turning the ball over as well, too, the entire time. 257 interceptions to 196 touchdowns. No, I mean, he had to have 19 game-winning drives. Hey, yo. He had 19 game-winning drives and 52 wins? Oh, man. So he was, again, all of those games that he won were not even good as well, too. Norm Snead held the the inevitable title of being a talented player on bad teams, of course. The 16-year career, the quarterback played on one team that finished on a season with a winning record. Oh, no. Assigning win-loss records to quarterbacks has never been entirely fair. Snead is someone who is quite capable but placed in poor situations, specifically in Washington and Philly. He might be the first one we have to go pull highlights up of. Is Joe Burrow on the list? Is Norm Snead just like Joe Burrow, just getting like just punished, just sacked like 9 times a game? You hate to see it. But Archie Manning. Oh, so all 3 Mannings will be on the list. If Archie Manning didn't have 2 sons that made the league and a grandson that was the number 1 recruit in high school, would he be the 86 best quarterback of all time? I think he would. 2 Pro Bowls, 2,400 yards. For our guy Arch Manning. You see, speaking of the win-loss stuff and the game-winning drives as well too, I never put those together. But 35 wins in his career. Oh, chat, we might have to have just like a moment of silence for Arch Manning's just wins. Oh no. 35 and 101, 35 wins, 101 losses, and 3 ties. And of his 35 wins, 12 of them were game-winning drives. So that means he had, 20 games in his career where they were the better team and like maybe like comfortably like did okay. So he will be the poster child for a guy for how much landing in a spot in the NFL matters. And of course, obviously made that an important part of, Eli and his setup. And I guess even Peyton as well too, because right, Peyton could have went to the NFL as a junior and went back as a senior. I mean, the Tennessee stuff, sure, but also probably because he didn't want to go to the Jets. If I remember, so was that the year? Was Keyshawn then? Because yeah, he would have been 97. So Keyshawn in 97 and then Manning in 98, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Jets got the receiver, #1 overall the year before. But for his career, Manning threw for over 24. Yeah, threw for almost 24,000 yards. Added 2,000 yards on the ground. The original Josh Allen, maybe? No, Josh Allen, of course, the linebacker build. Hey, yo, Brad Johnson. Now, with all due respect to all of our Super Bowl winning quarterbacks out there, maybe this is him and Dilfer have definitely benefited from really, really good defenses. It is what it is. And, a guy like Bradshaw, Steel Curtain back in the day, obviously that's maybe the next prime example. Maybe Aikman with the Cowboys defense in the 90s and just that entire roster being stacked. But again, all of those guys won multiple Super Bowls. Dilfer, with all respect, got the one. And again, now we're arguing about totally different things. But, Brad Johnson, kind of the same thing where it was, kind of the microphone unmuted. Okay, I think we're good. I unplugged it there. But yeah, kind of that perfect season of everything, happening the right way and able to get the win. And of course, the defense was crazy. Like Arch Manning on the 2002 Buccaneers is definitely 2001 Buccaneers, 2002, whichever year they won. I mean, probably going to win the Super Bowl that year. Again, same with, could Arch Manning go 5-16 in the playoffs in the divisional round? Maybe it just says that anybody could have won the Super Bowl that year. I mean, I don't want to be too disrespectful. Tyler Huntley. Oh, chat. Doug Williams is on the list. Let's go. 84. Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion. Again, the career stats, pretty good for sure. I mean, the highest winning percentage of anybody in the 80s at this point. I don't know how the 80s have a higher or like a cumulative lower winning percentage than the 90s, but shout out. Anyways, 47th. His highest ranking was 47th. I mean, again, we definitely wanted him to make the list. I don't think he did have a top 50 career of all time. Maybe he was a top 50 talented guy. I guess we don't know too many highlights outside of that one game. So, shout out, obviously, great game. But, yeah, he definitely needs to be in the top 100 in, a present name ranked. We got, who is this? Frank Ryan? Is this a Tom Clancy character? One-time Super Bowl champion, 3 Pro Bowls, 9 game-winning drives. Browns, Rams, Washington for his career. So I gotta be honest, we gotta hit him with we gotta have the Shaq chat. We gotta have the Shaq drop. I'm not familiar with this game. Frank Ryan. I didn't know there was gonna be a quarterback that I didn't know about on this list. But I can't say that I know too much about Frank Ryan. The Ryan-led squad bounced back in 64 and 65 by winning one more title and appearing in another. From 63 to 66, Ryan was named to 3 Pro Bowls and led the NFL in passing. Experienced unbelievable success at the start of the organization under the leadership of Paul Brown and Otto Graham. Cleveland won 7 championships. Between 59 and 63, the Browns failed to make the postseason. Oh, and then they got... So Frank Ryan helped, I guess... Back when the Browns used to just get quarterbacks. Otto Graham, then Frank Ryan. What happened? 52. Somebody had him as almost a top 50 quarterback of all time. And again, I got to be honest. I can't even, like a documentary? Like, is this guy just erased from history? What did he do? Hey, yo. Do we need to look up the Wikipedia page? They mentioned Kerry Collins' alcoholism, but they don't mention why Frank Ryan's not brought up anymore. I don't know there. But let's see. We got 82, Jaws. Ron Jaworski, 1 Pro Bowl, 1 Burt Bell. I think, did he make a Super Bowl or came in? Oh, in relief of James Harris in the 1975 NFC Championship game. And then after injury-marred 76 season, Jaworski traded to the Eagles. That's when the light bulb came on. Over a decade, 137 starts, 50% win percentage, led the Eagles over a 3-year stretch, led the Eagles to 33 wins, 3 playoff appearances. Good, I guess, obviously franchise rankings. So I guess maybe he didn't make a Super Bowl in his career. Did he make one for the Bengals? What am I thinking of, Chad? Hey, yo, who is the second Bengals quarterback to make a Super Bowl? They had Ken Anderson. Was it Ken Anderson both times? I guess maybe we'll find out as we keep scrolling. But yeah, 1980, 2-1 in the playoffs. Oh, they lost. They did lose to the Raiders. Okay, I'm not crazy. Raiders, Eagles. Yeah. I do remember having like a football card or something from that game. I guess not a game that a lot of people talk about. You just don't like visualize that Eagles, this like old Eagles green and that old Eagles logo like in the Super Bowl. I guess because they didn't make it a lot, but they did this one year. And again, they did have really good players, really good teams. Like Jaworski will be on here. I guess they had, obviously a couple good quarterbacks. Jaworski and, Cunningham will be on the list at some point as well too. But yeah, they just unfortunately just weren't quite able to cross over into the Super Bowl consistently as well too. Oh yeah, and it says right here, advance to the Super Bowl. Shout out. So we should have just kept right in there. Jim McMahon, speaking of winners, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Who did he get the second one with? The Packers? Yeah, probably not the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Vikings, the Eagles, or yeah, he did win with the Bears. So yeah, Bears. Oh, the divisional rivals, both of them. And of course, speaking of having defenses, the 85 defense, but he was a good quarterback for him that year as well too. So if we're not for injuries, McMahon would likely have been ranked higher. A little Burt Jones. At that point, we need to go back and watch. I remember the 30 for 30. Did they have a 30 for 30? Some documentary we watched in the 85 Bears definitely, again, highlighted McMahon's talent as well, too. So we definitely, not to say view him favorably as a quarterback because of that, but again, that was an opinion informer of us. It is what it is. Again, how much of media have we consumed about the 85 Bears? So you see a documentary about it. It shows Jim McMahon, the quarterback, in a good light. And you're like, hey, he's probably a decent quarterback. Again, that Bears team was good. But, again, that's different than some of the other guys on the list where it's just like, they had to be there, I guess, with all due respect. And, nobody was just in the they had to be there category. Oh, is he the first guy that wasn't unranked? He might be. He honestly might be the first guy that is just he's the first lock. Jim McMahon is the first lock on the list. There you go. So Jim McMahon is second good. So Ron Jaworski, not a lock? See, Jaworski, decade starter. I guess now we're in the Kirk Cousins argument, but again, in a Super Bowl. So Brad Johnson, Frank Ryan, again, like Herbert's headed that direction. Doug Williams, consistent starter for a decade, but McMahon, shout out. Bernie Kosar, number 80, Super Bowl with, was that Dolphins or Cowboys? What do we got here? Led the Browns to 3 AFC championship games in 4 years against the Broncos. So, hey, the one time the Browns, of course, have been good in that little run. And then some of those Belichick years there as well, too. But for the most part, and, that type of consistent playoff success, you do have to give him credit. Again, maybe not the, stellar regular season numbers, consistently getting Pro Bowl accolades and stuff, only one Pro Bowl in there, but 16 game-winning drives is maybe the highest now that we were getting to. McMahon at 14 above him, so there we go. Course already. Brian Sipe, a couple of Browns quarterbacks. Who would have guessed the Browns, they actually, low-key might have some of the most quarterbacks on this list, if you think about it. Now that we have Frank Ryan, and again, guys that actually played, good minutes for the Browns. Do we have to look this up? I've never thought about that. So is this 21st century, some weird karma for the other thing? And is it a different franchise? Because it has moved around now as well too. So do they break the luck there by, pause by moving around? But again, we've already had a couple of pretty decent starters. And I guess how many more will we have outside of Otto Graham? Will Baker Mayfield be on the list? Hey, former number 1 overall pick. You do maybe have a little bit of, name recognition value. Again, somebody just left Frank Ryan off. We're just leaving Don Meredith off. They're just probably just people just know. Some of these writers just know Baker Mayfield before they know Don Meredith. So yeah, Brian Sipe. Oh, this is seasons. I was going to say Brian Sipe a couple times. For careers, what do we got? Career passing leaders for the Browns. Sipe, Otto Graham, Kosar, Mayfield, Frank Ryan, I guess Tim Couch. Maybe we move into a little different territory there. Vernie Testaverde for 2 seasons. So, I mean, hey, they've had like 6 pretty decent quarterbacks. I guess maybe it's not the best quarterback franchise of all time, but still, you got 3 guys with 20,000 yards and 6 with 10,000. Like, something's happened. I guess Tim Couch is the 6th one. But regardless, Brian Sipe, an MVP, a Pro Bowl, and All-Pro. So a good season there for him. 500 career win totals, 23 game-winning drives. Oh, it's had a season that ended with an interception. Red right 88. Oh, Chad, is that the play? But after finishing 2nd in the NFL in passing yards, Brian was league the most valuable player. Like many signal callers at the back end of these rankings, Sipe didn't enjoy sustained greatness. Hey, yo, call him out. But despite spending much of his career on deeply flawed teams, was a very, very good quarterback. So going back to unranked as well, too. So, yeah, shout out McMahon. I think I would probably have McMahon up above Sipe. And Kosar was unranked, but he was also 38. So Kosar, a little Garoppolo-ish, a little maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, a little Bernie Kosar, but kind of again, consistent producer, could get you through a playoff run as well too. Dante Culpepper, number 78 on the list, too low, Chad. It is what it is. What's his highest ranking? 61. Okay, he is a lock. I guess did have, of course, a selection of knee injuries there. 3-time Pro Bowlers. Again, we're maybe ranking talent and upside and how fun offense, the entertainment level of offenses. I guess if we were ranking that, quarterback receiver duos, Culpepper and Randy Moss. Are you getting Randy Moss in that scenario? Sure, but I guess Culpepper as well too, not bad. 41% on the record for his career, not great on paper, but obviously a little bit better than that for his career. Better than Derek Carr. I would say probably I would personally draft Culpepper over Derek Carr in an all-time ranking, but 4 Pro Bowls for Derek Carr is something. 35 game-winning drives as well, too. So earned MVP buzz in 2016. We've said it before, but, should not, in our minds, have been competing. He should not have been in discussion on the same tier as Andrew Luck, with all due respect. So, not to have poor memories because we were trying to tear him down in conversations because of that. But shout out, I guess, just one last time. Dante Culpepper over Derek Carr. Hey, yo, Alex Smith at 76. 3 Pro Bowls, was able, of course, to get the comeback player of the year. Obviously, speaking of just those really, really great starters, was definitely there. And maybe because he was, 23 game-winning drives, 19 fourth quarter, he was pretty clutch for sure. But, there was a safety there with his game as well, too. Like, it did pause. It did feel like there was a little bit more with what he had to offer. And it felt like he did maximize his physical gifts in a way. Like, it felt like he was as talented as he should have been on the field. It just maybe, do you say as aggressive? I don't know what the right, play calls. It's just like, there was just like a little bit of some spice missing from Alex Smith's game that would have just, I don't know. I don't know if that would have, gotten him, with the spice from Dune, are we saying that would have gotten him to the conference championship game? I don't know. But it did seem like he underwent 17 leg surgeries there at the end of his career. Oh, man. Theismann. Ooh, we'll see if Theismann better be on the top 100. Are we peek ahead? Is Theismann the next guy up? Alex Smith was a lock, though, on the list, and maybe we're just getting into that range now, into the top 70. 67 was his highest. 89 was his lowest. But, shout out the resilience and the incredible recovery, of course, again, from all of those surgeries. Jalen Hurts at 75. Debate the talent all you want. And I guess this is where it gets interesting as well, too, because, again, and we do have to, like we say, give him credit. Like, how many guys in their careers have made multiple Super Bowls? Like we were talking, going back up, guys like Rippon versus, later guys in the list, Cousins, whatever. We could redo this whole ranking, so I'm not going to, remember every name to compare guys. But that is a real thing. Multiple Super Bowl performances, being clutch in the playoffs. Every level he's been at, he's been a winning guy. But would you just say outright he's a better quarterback than Herbert? And again, we get to have that debate now because you could actually physically trade those guys for each other. You can't really trade Herbert for, I guess Alex Smith or, Dante Culpepper at this point, Brian Sipe, Bernie Kosar, Jim McMahon. You can't trade Jalen Hurts for Jim McMahon. I mean, you can debate the talent, but you could still, like right now, literally trade Jalen Hurts for Justin Herbert, and they are literally competing against each other. So, it matters a little bit more, year to year, more, game to game, more so than obviously the generality of the conversation. And again, Hurts, the generality in the conversation is really, really great. The legacy is starting to be there for sure. But the game to game thing is, still needs to get to a little bit of a different level. Is he one of the 75 best game to game quarterbacks of all time? Again, I think that he is definitely that talented for sure. And, again, in the playoffs, I don't know, do a version of that ranking. Like, I'm not saying that I would move him down the rankings too much. I would just be curious, I guess, to see where he would actually, from an all-time ranking, be in my list. Because, again, you just rank guys now, and you kind of think, like, oh, Herbert, like, what are the guys that you just automatically rank over him? But, again, you start putting the legacy stuff together, and, I mean, it makes total sense. Shout out. So, 75 for Jalen Hurts there. 46. He got a 46, and then he got an unranked. I'm not surprised either way. Jeff Garcia at 74. Whoa. 4 Pro Bowlers for our guy, Jeff Garcia. Are they including the Calgary Stampede run in here? The San Jose product made his way to the 49ers in 99 after 3 successful seasons with the Calgary Stampede. Won a Grey Cup. CFL All-Star. So, again, speaking of winning on multiple levels, Jeff Garcia. Doesn't Jeff Garcia have a Ben & Jerry's flavor named after him? I don't know if that's correct. 45 over the number 45 overall quarterback would have been his highest ranking. Let's see. It's either Jeff Garcia, the quarterback, or there's like some old pop star Jeff Garcia. Yeah, what is Cherry Garcia? What is that? Jeff Garcia, Ben & Jerry's? It's just like, no. This has nothing. Jeff Garcia. Oh, comedian? Is this who it's named after? Oh, Jeff Garcia, football player. Okay. So, wait a second. Cherry. Maybe we just go Cherry Garcia. Cherry Garcia, Ben & Jerry's. This is going to be a Google AI question right here. Named after, let's see what we get here. Is named after Jerry Garcia. Lead guitarist and frontman. Oh, the Grateful Dead. Hey, yo. See, obviously we know the Grateful Dead. I mean, are we showing our age? What excuse can we make for not knowing his name? What excuse can we possibly make? I mean, there really is no excuse. It's just an honest admission of, I guess, hey, we're not listening to the Grateful Dead. It is what it is. I guess Jeff Garcia is not the name of the Ben & Jerry's flavor ice cream. But Cherry Garcia, shout out Jeff Garcia, shout out the Grateful Dead. I don't know, is there a song recommendation on here that we can play? I guess maybe anything off the Spotify, but yeah, shout out. Maybe we get Jeff Garcia a Ben & Jerry's flavored ice cream. What would it be? Jeff Garcia. Jerry, Cherry. I guess it's a pretty easy, hey, yo, maybe there's other reasons why he's thinking that as well too. Jeff Garcia. I don't know. We'll have to workshop it, but shout out 74. Vernie Testaverde clocking in at 73. 2 Pro Bowls. A little lower than some of the guys. We had Jeff Garcia with 4 Pro Bowls. So, I don't know, better seasons. But Testaverde, 21 years, 46,000 passing yards. So, one of the, great sideline quarterbacks of all time. Hey, yo, but 21 seasons, 29 fourth quarter comebacks, 33 game-winning drives. So, really, really good starter for a couple decades there. Dave Craig, number 72. Definitely a name that I know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, am I super familiar with Vernie Testaverde's game? But I know that I have seen more Vernie Testaverde highlights than Dave Craig. I know that if I was ranking guys from this list that, minutes seen, knowledge accumulated of, obviously Frank Ryan, immediately, like we said, number 0. And then Daniel Craig. Hey, yo, see, now we're just calling him, it's just James Bond guys. So we've got Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavors and James Bond actors on the list. It is what it is. Dave Craig, could he be Daniel Craig, but could he be the next James Bond? I don't know. I know there is rumors now at this point. Maybe we have to, next Tubi Tuesday, do a little casting. I don't know. Whoa, hey, yo. But the rumor is what it is. At this point, Kirk Cousins, here we go, 71. So immediately compared to guys like Dave Craig and Vernie Testaverde, And again, maybe some of the Super Bowl guys were moving up. I don't know. Hurts versus like Hurts versus Cousins. I feel like we're good there. It is what it is. I feel like that's not really an argument. Hey, Cousins every time. But Cousins is four Pro Bowls. So it's not like, Russell Wilson, when we were looking at his stats back up when we were revisiting the Super Bowl in preview of the Patriots versus Seahawks this past Super Bowl, I didn't realize that Russell Wilson had been in 10 Pro Bowls, which I imagine is like, 3 or 4, maybe most of all time for a quarterback. Like, he might have more Pro Bowls than Montana. Like, how many did Montana? Like, Montana might have played for 13, 15 seasons, maybe made like, 9, I guess maybe 10. Again, either way, same amount. Like, Russell Wilson might be like the 48th best quarterback on this list if he gets really, really highly up there. But, again, there's not like that extra regular season ranking at this point. Again, not to disrespect Kirk Cousins. I guess 300 touchdowns is pretty crazy, for sure. You do have to give him a little bit of credit there. But definitely played in some, pass-heavy offenses. And really smart, definitely going to be maybe a good coach, analyst, offensive coordinator. There'll be that post-career run that'll make us. Again, speaking of guys to go back and reevaluate, I'm sure his post-career run and the amount of like documentary interviews he'll do, and how I guess like people were charmed by him in the quarterback show that he did. Like, maybe we'll have the retrospective there when that happens. Oh, chat, we've got another one we don't know. Shout out Dutch Clark, the first Hall of Famer. Hey, yo, we had to get to number 70 to get to an actual Hall of Famer. I guess we don't have 100 active quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame. I guess I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that. Again, guys like, well, I guess 100 active Hall of Fame, quote-unquote Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Because a guy like Mahomes is locked in. Again, we're talking Hall of Fame. So, like, say what you want about legacies and debating the list. Lamar's going into the Hall of Fame. We don't have to debate that. Josh Allen's going into the Hall of Fame. Joe Burrow might be going into the Hall of Fame. Who knows? But, I mean, can Dak Prescott go into the Hall of Fame for being second in MVP voting? I guess you have to have a little bit of the Eli thing with, obviously, the Super Bowls. And I guess he did play for, our guy Dutch Clark did play for the Portsmouth Spartans. So I didn't even know the Portsmouth Spartans were a team. So again, I don't know how much blame we can take here. Literally, his record is unavailable. We don't know how many games this guy played in. We do know some of his stats. 1,500 yards for his entire career. Hey, yo. 0 fourth quarter, I guess 2,700 rush yards. So, just over 3,000 total yards for his career there. His highest ranking was 34? Oh, chat. The onset of Clark's career 31 goes further back than any other player on this list, but he shouldn't be excluded because of his era. The Flying Dutchman was a star who eventually passed the torch to Sammy Baugh and Sid Luckman. In fact, Associated Press named Clark's Football Man of the Decade for the 30s to understand Clark's dominance in this period. He was named first-team All-Pro in 6 of his 7 professional seasons, but he was also a player very much of his time. Technically, Clark was a quarterback because he called the plays. Today, he would be viewed as a running back. So we don't even have 100 quarterbacks to rank because there's 99 quarterbacks on this list. And one of them, in the 70 best quarterback of all time, is actually a running back. Hey, yo. So what are they going to say? Lamar's actually a receiver? What would Lamar have been like if he played receiver? But I guess shout out to Dutch Clark as well, too, for just making the list. Jim Hart, 4 Pro Bowls. This is the, obviously like just the steady performers part of the list. You see him getting close to the 35,000 passing yard mark in 19 seasons as well, too. Pretty stellar run there. Plunkett won a couple of Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP. So he is kind of do you say a playoff only quarterback in a way? Because you don't see any regular season achievements there. But at the end, who cares? First Latino, I guess, quote, he was the first Latino signal caller to guide his team to the Super Bowl and win the game's MVP award. So shout out to Jim Plunkett, top 50 on the list if in our book, I guess, if that's the case. But 38 overall was his highest ranking. Plunkett's numbers may not get him into the Hall of Fame, but there's no denying his importance of his representation of Latinos in the NFL and his role of again, you win 2 titles. What do you want to make 4 Pro Bowls? Or you want to win 2 titles? I think you want to win 2 titles. So shout out. I say we get Jim Plunkett in the Hall of Fame. To be honest, 25,000 pass yards. Who cares? It's the era. Just say it's era specific. Earl Morrall, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 21 years played, 2-time All-Pro, was an MVP. So you see the accolades starting to add up. Of course, you see him in the Colts jersey. So I guess in terms of what we said, the Colts having the great runs, was him and Unitas were kind of both the quarterback that year for Super Bowl III. I don't really know who gets credit for that year. I think it's just, or now Super Bowl III. Nobody gets credit for that year because that's the one they lost, and they were both kind of playing that year as well too. But Super Bowl V was the one that they ended up winning, and again, Morrill was kind of the main quarterback for that team, and that's why I think, with all due respect to Morrill, it does get a little lost in history and people talking about it, because obviously if Unitas had won a modern Super Bowl in that way, then it would have just maybe been a little more legacy defining for him, and just in terms of a talking point. Again, Unitas is going to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks on this list. It is what it is. But Morrill, again, was there with the Colts. Was he with the, what do we got? Dolphins, Giants, Steelers. I think Dolphins and then Steelers would have been his other Super Bowl teams that he was winning with in the 70s there. But, was, again, in that kind of Hostetler way, pretty capable when you checked in. But in relief for the Hall of Famer Unitas, he was dealing with an arm injury. Morrill led the Colts to, Super Bowl IV. Did I say 5? Super Bowl 4? Or Super Bowl, Super Bowl III. Okay, it's the loss. I'm just assuming they're going to talk about the win. They're talking about the loss. And then, Super Bowl V was the one they won, coming in for Unitas. While Baltimore trailed the Cowboys and did enough to keep the club in contention for the victory, though he is best known for leading the Miami Dolphins through the undefeated season. I guess Larry Zonka is actually more known for leading that team than Oral Morrill. In that season, Bob Greasy returned from injury in the AFC Championship and started the Super Bowl. And I was going to say, what happened to Bob Greasy? But still, with 11 starts, Morrill significantly contributed to Miami's unblemished season. So, you got to give him credit there. Oh, Burrow is on the list. 2 Pro Bowls, twice the comeback player of the year. I didn't realize he's the first. Is he the first multiple time? Oh, chat. What does that mean for his career? I don't know. But 6 seasons again. So, him and Herbert, I guess that's probably the low mark. Is there anybody that would, play 5 and make the list? I guess we'd have to go back to that draft class. But so hasn't played games at the top of the Cincinnati's record books and career numbers. But, he did make a Super Bowl, and they're clearly ranking the talent here as well, too. Because with all due respect, 46, again, with all due respect on paper, and I know he's missed a lot of time, but it is what it is. It's a little Burt Jonesy. It's a little Burt Jonesy, and Burt Jones has a league MVP. So, Burrow, I don't know, re-rank it. Burt Jones might be better. It is what it is. We don't mean to call you out there. But Hasselbeck, 65 for our guy, Matt Hasselbeck. 17 seasons, Packers, Colts, Seahawks, of course, was in the Super Bowl with the Seahawks in 05. Sean Alexander kind of gets a pretty good career boost, I would say, from that. I don't know if, again, not to disrespect him, you got to have the ability to be able to lead your team there. Ooh, and he's a lock on the list. He's a lock. 82 at his lowest, 52 at his highest. So a pretty kind of good range there for him. Nothing too crazy. But, I guess between, the good, consistent career, it's kind of a combination of long career pause, modern-ish football, did play, of course, in the 2000s, so you can kind of visualize him in any era, and I think that's important, again, for people who are thinking of these guys, and did also play in a Super Bowl in 05. So I think that's going to rank him a little higher than some of these guys. Again, Burrow, obviously more talented. Morrill, I don't know, better career. Plunkett with just straight up 2 Super Bowl wins. It is what it is. John Brodie, shout out one of the great quarterback names, 64, an MVP in there. Another comeback player of the year. 2 Pro Bowls, All-Pro as well. 49ers quarterback, 31,000 passing yards. Somebody had him in the top 35, but clearly Brodie was a straight shooter since the former NFL quarterback returned to golf, which he played at Stanford. Joined the senior PGA, which he competed at 13 years, winning 1 tournament and claiming 12 top 10 finishes. Oh, so he's like Steph Curry. He's got the hand-eye. He's a sniper. Maybe we need to go back and watch John Brodie's highlights. Maybe he's got some accuracy there that was kind of untouched. I don't know. Pause. 46% win percentage. Not great. 74-76. 8 ties. John Brodie. More ties now than anybody. Kirk Cousins included. Jared Goff. Whoa. Jared Goff is 63. think he's undeserving. He has been a pretty good quarterback over his career. I guess he was in a Super Bowl with the Rams, though I don't know if he was playing in a Super Bowl when he was at the best version of his football, but he has been able to accomplish both things of, again, being in the Super Bowl and playing really, really good high-level regular season football. And again, if we're talking about former number 1 overall pick notoriety, like Baker Mayfield might actually be a top 50 quarterback of all time on this list now. But I don't know if Jared Goff is like actually a top. See, this is where I feel like the list is being a little like, what are we ranking? Are we ranking the talent or are we ranking the legacies? Because these guys definitely can still build the legacies. I just don't think Goff has quite built the legacy yet. I do think, though, that, like we said before, it's great that, there was a time in his career, obviously that first season, Jeff Fisher, was it Jeff Fisher? Is that the coach? Am I getting that name right? Norv Turner, Jeff Fisher, same coaching staff, maybe both Chargers there. But, Jeff Fisher, when he was on the Rams, there was that real vibe of, is Goff, gonna just be a, pause a bust for that first round pick. And, again, in some version of the ranking, he's 63rd. What's the range here for Goff? 50 to 82? So in some version of the ranking, he's a top 50 quarterback of all time. Like, that's actually that's perfect for number 1 overall pick. Like, hey, you could also, again, there's Manning and Luck. Is Luck gonna be on this list? It didn't even dawn on me that Andrew Luck could miss this list. He has to be a lock. There's no way. There's no way that Andrew Luck is not one of the 100 greatest. I mean, come on. Jared Goff is 63. What are we doing here? If Andrew Luck is not on this list, but yeah, again, shout out for the career turnaround, and not even the turnaround because he's just had more good years than he's had bad. So it's just a good career at this point. It's just, how thick the dialogue was, in that first start of the career. And because he wasn't necessarily like a transcendent, respectfully, like a transcendent kind of prospect, I think maybe there was a little bit of a shorter, shorter rope there with his level of play. But yeah, he's definitely gotten there. Oh, John Hadel is going to go to the list of guys we're not super familiar with. 1 AFL championship, 6 Pro Bowls. Ooh, impressive. So he is the highest Pro Bowl total guy at this point. Is best known as Dan Fouts' predecessor with the Chargers, but the former Kansan produced impressive career numbers prior to being replaced. So yes, I assume Fouts will be much higher on the list. At the time of his retirement, he ranked 4th all-time in passing touchdowns, only behind Sonny Jurgensen, Johnny Unitas, and Fran Tarkington. That seems like a very specific reason to have him on this list. Somebody had him ranked 36? Ooh, shout out. And I guess, again, 6 Pro Bowlers. We don't really have to debate it at this point. Along the way, the Chargers Hall of Fame inductee was named 5 AFL All-Star squads, 2 Pro Bowls, and became a first-team All-Pro. Former Chargers head coach Sid Gillen is considered the godfather of the modern vertical passing game, while also using the width of the field. Hadel's ability to orchestrate the system played a large part in the team's success during that time. So, sort of can we compare him to Hendon Hooker? I'm not sure, but Mark Brunell is number 61, 1-time Super Bowl champion. I guess he did make 3 Pro Bowls. That does seem a little high for Brunell, I'm not going to lie. Shout out, but he was a steady veteran for a long time. Wasn't the first quarterback starting game for Jacksonville, but quickly took over during their inaugural season. 5th round pick of the Packers, made 3 Pro Bowls. Was he the Super Bowl? So that Super Bowl champion, I think, was that Packers. Because who was in that Packers quarterback room? I think, speaking of that, Kurt Warner. A couple shout outs. Speaking of that Kurt Warner biopic, or just Kurt Warner's story in general, there is that picture of that QB room. Maybe Hasselbeck is in that room as well too. It's stacked. It's Favre and Hasselbeck and Mark Brunell. But again, those are all starters. But Favre, Brunell, here, do we have to look that up? And Kurt Warner is, again, pretty good 3 guys to have in the camp at the same time. I don't know if it on talent-wise matches, again, some of those receiving room photos that we've seen from some of those college squads. But regardless, it is still one to look at. I guess this is not necessarily Packers QB room designs is not what we were looking for. We'll just go like Favre, Brunel. See what we can find for that image. Oh, here we go. So yeah, there's Kurt Warner. There's Brunel. There's Favre. Here, or who's this guy? Who is this guy? I guess we could just go back and look up the roster as well too. I don't know why I'm trying to look up the photo. Well, because I'm trying to find the photo. It is what it is. But we might have to look up the roster because I don't know if Kurt Warner made the team. The other guy might have made the team for a little bit. So let's see. What years was Brunel on the actual Packers themselves before he took over there in Jacksonville? And would that be everybody in the room? So yeah, 94 would have been the year. Would everybody in this room be on the list? Because again, we know Warner and Favre are definitely going to be on the list. 9 and 7, Brunel and Favre, the only guys listed to throw passes this year. Let's see if on the roster we can get another QB named mentioned here. No, just those two guys. So the mystery third guy, I guess, will be uncovered at some point. But yeah, shout out. Did manage to at least 3 guys at one time. So that has to be the most guys at one time. Pause. And the top 100 quarterback list of all time. So again, it shows you why it's impressive. Mark Brunell, 60th best quarterback of all time. 54 to 76. We got maybe the most. We're getting into the most, unanimous. That'll be something to track too. Who's the most unanimous player that is ranked? I guess what was Tannehill ranked? We might have to go back and check that one. But Jack Kemp, number 60. Buffalo, 7 Pro Bowlers, 2 AFL championships, 2 All-Pros, and an AFL Player of the Year. So the accolades are stacked heavy for our guy Jack Kemp in only 10 seasons as well too. Best years came with the Bills. The quarterback's name became synonymous with the American Football League as one of the 20 players to play all 10 seasons. Oh, he played the entire time the league was around. Hey, yo, imagine. Kemp, this is a quote, Kemp is probably the most intelligent football player I ever played with. Former teammate Hall of Fame guard Bill Shaw said, Jack is what I would consider better than average ability or skills, but because of his ability to use his head and make good decisions on the field, his results were probably better than the talent that he had. Whoa, okay, so that's, complimentary, but I don't know about his head there or whatever, but somebody had him ranked as the 22nd best quarterback of all time, and somebody had him ranked as the 98th. So barely a unanimous selection, but top 20. So that means somebody had him in the 32 of guys, and even in a little bit of a range above that as well. Definitely a name I have heard of. Again, maybe not as familiar with the accolades in the overall game. And had another CFL run in there. 1 year at Calgary. So we've had multiple Calgary quarterbacks make the list as well, too. Calgary, maybe the number 1 AFL team. Oh, and then Dak Prescott at 59. So actually, IT said we should take a break before we get to the top 60. The top 59, I guess this is the 60th one here. And we could stop at 50. But Dak Prescott, we've already mentioned him a little bit as well, too, at 59. So not too much of a spoiler there. So, yeah, when we get back from break, we've got the top 58 of the 100 quarterbacks from Bleacher Report. Maybe YouTube's back up. I don't know. If you're joining us, though, shout out. Tell a friend. Maybe they can – I think they can search the channel page directly and then – just find the feed going there. So, hey, yo, if you need to share the channel page with your friend, you're like, hey, don't worry, YouTube still works. The Rim and Sam Pod, a little break, get your time, get a snack. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere. The top 58 quarterbacks of all time, according to Bleacher Report, up next. I don't know. Do we go radio TV style here for the next couple of quarterbacks? We might have to make sure we're on a good timer here. We might have to lock down and buckle up and do like a 58 quarterbacks in 58 minutes up next. Hey yo, I mean this is like the perfect ESPN2 segment right here. ESPN News, 58 quarterbacks. How many things? 30 seconds for each topic. ESPN2, 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. So, 58. Bob Waterfield. Shout out. Another Hall of Famer. Somehow, just an incredible absence of Hall of Famers in the top 100 quarterbacks. Again, obviously, maybe some guys headed that direction. Like, was it Dak? 3,600 yards at this point. 4 Pro Bowlers. So, or 4-time Pro Bowler. And the Offensive Rookie of the Year. They included that as well, too. So only 2 off. I assume that'll also increase as we go along. But maybe we go back and check that out. Who knows? Again, I guess, did Tet win it this year? Does he still have it? I don't know. But, if Dak makes 2 more, if he is in that 6 to 7 Pro Bowl range, I know that, like we've said for the NBA, 5 All-NBAs. Not 5 All-Stars, but 5 All-NBAs. At any level. So even 5 third-team All-NBAs is kind of a little bit of a checkpoint for making the Hall of Fame. So I don't know if it just immediately correlates like that to Pro Bowls. Again, the modern-day Pro Bowl, it's just it's a little weird. It is what it is. Obviously, Shador got in this year. So if Shador makes 5 more Pro Bowls like this, is he gonna be a Hall of Famer? Like, I don't know if he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, but regardless. If Dak were to accumulate that many over the course of his career, you would assume that would get him to a certain status. He surpassed Romo and became the Cowboys franchise leader in pass yards. So that is crazy as well, too. Again, think of the prestige of that franchise. Like, again, it is a little bit of timing as well. But regardless, he has stepped up. I mean, being the 4th-round pick as well has been just an awesome career in seeing what he has been able to, again, raise the value of what that draft pick was. And again, shout out to Bob Waterfield. Once again, the record unavailable for his career. Rams punter, kicker, and defensive back. 40. So Waterfield, this was another perfect offensive, defensive. Again, because the offenses were not as complicated back then, he might have been able to get away with a little bit, just simpler stuff. But shout out, regardless, is still in the top 60. 35 to unranked. So Bob Waterfield might be the most volatile of all time. And again, that is probably just forgotten as well because he is in the Hall of Fame. So you would assume that you have to include him on the list. But then it just becomes like, what are you ranking as well, too? Are you ranking pure quarterbacks? Because, well, I guess he's not the runner. Like who's the other guy? Norm Snead or I forget who Dutch Clark. So, it's not like that. But shout out either way. Tony Romo. So a couple Cowboys quarterbacks. Tony Romo, number 57. 4 Pro Bowls for our guy, Tony Romo. Just sitting under 3,500 or 35,000 career yards. Obviously, best quarterback broadcaster of all time. Because if you think about the iconic broadcast, I didn't even think about this until right now. Ayo, chat. Wait a second. We gotta. Wait a second. Hate to abrupt pause and just go to the news again real quick. But let me Google a name real fast because I just saw something. And we want to make sure that we are paying respects when respects are needed to be paid. Oh, yeah, chat. Hey, yo. I guess let's see if we can look up here. I don't know if we're going to be able to appropriately, pay respects to the career and the life of the legacy and, speak appropriately to all of the accomplishments that, and all of the checkpoints of his life. But, I saw on the screen that they were saying rest in peace to Reverend Jesse Jackson. So obviously, great civil rights leader. And, shout out, obviously a great life lived there. So, I don't want to mention it to move past it quickly, but, again, in the moment, seeing it pop up on the screen there, I just wanted to, I guess for myself as well, too, just make sure that I was seeing that correctly. And again, I guess I just, I guess, admittedly, just am not as, educated as I should be on the specifics of, a lot of, again, maybe, again, certain career accomplishments and things that people have done, again, to call them out by name. But, again, you do know impactful people for sure in the culture. And he is obviously a name of major, major impact. And a name that we were hearing in interviews as well, too, recently, because, of course, we were talking about industry insiders earlier. One of the, if we were going to watch like a news show as well, of course, and somebody who does, of course, a great job of just keeping you up to date with news in the moment. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I don't want to start calling out names of certain people and then imply that they're not doing a great job of keeping us up to date in the moment. It just, like, the Woj angle of it is just a little different thing as well, too. But then again, you can maybe have more access to, like, football and basketball information. I don't know. But, I think Abby Phillips wrote a book on Jesse Jackson I want to say this year. So, and I know she was doing a tour, like doing the press run, doing the interviews, promoting that. And that was exciting to get to tune into a bunch of those. And obviously her show on CNN is a great show. So, his name was definitely being brought up and, hearing him in conversation a lot in regards to, again, her discussing her book and his life in that. So, again, that is definitely probably, a good place to start there as well, too, like we're saying, and, an author and a personality that we really respect and a life and a legacy that is worth learning about. So probably something that we need to be queuing up. Do we see if Spotify has an audiobook? We just need to sit down and read it, chat. It is what it is. But 84 years old. Hey, shout out to the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So, hey, again, not to just like move back and forth, go into quarterback rankings, yeah, I guess we do our best here on the REMINGTOM pod. It is what it is. So I don't know, 57. Now, so just do we have to, Tony Romo? Can he be the next one we talk about? I don't know. Carson Palmer, chat. Maybe the quarterback list is not the one to look at. Oh, Andrew Luck is on the list. Obviously, shout out. Ayo, the future of the NFL is bright for sure. Ayo, but 4 Pro Bowls for our guy Tony Romo getting back into the list. Like we were saying, at number 57. I think we've called out the 4 Pro Bowls a couple times, though 3 for our guy Carson Palmer. So clearly just biased toward Palmer's game at this point. I guess a little better numbers, and you think like that Cardinals season that he had, they did have, the problem with that Cardinals season was that Panthers team really got him in that playoff game. It is what it is. That game was not close. If it had been a little bit more competitive, maybe a little bit more what if, then it's a little bit more defined. But that's kind of like it is this year as well, too, where the results were a little bit kind of boring. We definitely look at this season and think we didn't get like ripped off with the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. Like they were definitely, arguably with the Broncos, the best team in the NFL. But again, with the level of play in the games and the teams matching up against them, it's a little, of a B- type of, C+ type of season. And the best season that maybe Carson Palmer had competitively, again, they kind of lost the playoff game in dramatic fashion in that type of the year. And that year was like a good year as well, too. Again, it was just, again, Manning, I'm not saying Manning winning the Super Bowl was a thing. Obviously, the Broncos defense was just incredible that year. It is what it is. But, yeah, shout out Palmer. The Bengals, not necessarily like the greatest franchise to be a quarterback of. I think sneaky, I guess not right now, obviously sneaky bad franchise, but again, because they've had bad seasons where they've gotten lucky with number 1 picks as well too. Again, obviously the Colts have been arguably the luckiest team with number 1 picks in NFL history. The Packers have had the trio of quarterbacks, so they've been maybe the luckiest with quarterbacks in NFL history, but again, they drafted Favre, Rodgers, and Love, none of those were number 1 overall picks. Luck and Manning were both number 1 overall picks. Again, we didn't have, I guess Jeff George to Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. I guess Harbaugh wasn't a number 1 overall pick. But, yeah, for Cincinnati, again, you have Palmer, you have Chad Johnson, like you had talent on those teams. I guess Dalton, like those teams were okay. Andy Dalton, those teams were like winning the division, being in playoff games, again, were they Super Bowl contenders. But Joe Burrow now, so there is like a level of winning that Cincinnati does get to. Like, they're not, again, like consistently Cleveland, like 3-12. But in terms of ownership and in terms of Remington calling out ownership here now. See, Chad, we're trying to get political. I don't know. But, in terms of ownership, I don't think it's controversial to say that would be, not to do like a definite ranking. But it's like, it doesn't really matter what the ranking is. It's just a tier of like, do you just, again, you wouldn't necessarily avoid a job in the NFL per se, because there are only 32 various, opportunities or, a variation of that, obviously, like, multiple corners, multiple receivers, but, there's obviously a very, very limited number of spots in the NFL. And I mean, again, not to just break down the NFL job market, but the secondary football market's not that great. I guess, college and stuff is obviously pretty great. So there is in some ways, a vast football infrastructure, but it's not like the second pro league is, like, I guess in some ways it is obviously probably, I guess we're comparing it to NFL money as well too. It is probably a very, very good opportunity, but again, to think about the Kurt Warner biopic at maybe different times, but I'm thinking if you're not a starting quarterback in the NFL, you're just bagging groceries at a Hy-Vee in the middle of the Midwest. Like, that's basically your next option if you're, quarterbacking an arena football team, but it kind of is a little bit hobbyish at that point where, again, in terms of it being a job, like, there are opportunities where you can work for the best company, but the second best company is also like, again, the 85% of the opportunity, the second best opportunity is like 85% of the opportunity that you have. So, again, going back to the owners, like, there is obviously, you're going to take NFL jobs. Like, you're going to work for the Jets if the opportunity arises. Guess what? Somebody's going to get drafted by the Jets. Somebody's going to get drafted by the Raiders. Somebody's going to work for the Cleveland Browns. People are going to take these jobs. Players are going to play for these teams. Myles Garrett's been there for too long. It is what it is. But regardless, I guess, I don't know why we're getting worked up about Bengals ownership, because they wasted Carson Palmer's career. They wasted Joe Burrow's career. Chad Johnson, they wasted our guy Chad Johnson's career. It is what it is. We could be salty about Colts ownership, and, unfortunately they definitely wasted Luck's prime, but, wasted career. 6, I always want to give Luck 8 seasons as well too. And 8 does seem like a little, like 8 is like a 1970s career. Like, there is, again, like Hall of Fame, or maybe more like a 1930s or 40s. Like, guys in the 30s, again, they literally did only play like 8 seasons and then they were just done. It is what it is. But 6 is, that's not even 2 contracts. Not even 2 full contracts for our guy Andrew Luck. But, regardless, the talent is there. 6 seasons, 4 Pro Bowls, the 55th best quarterback of all time. You're ranking both. I guess if you rank the actual career, again, in the 6 seasons, he is the interesting one. Again, guys like Herbert and Hurts and Burrow, they're at their 6th season. They haven't played 6 seasons. I guess they have. But, again, they're playing in their 6th season. So, or playing in their 7th season, this upcoming season, hopefully. I guess Burrow, we'll see. But for Herbert and Hurts, they're going to continue to stack on those legacies and things like that. Are they ever going to, Andrew Luck is, I guess, always going to have the quarterback talent argument of it. But, again, the career is, some of the numbers are a little lower. I guess, again, to go to a Mahomes argument, and, again, the Hall of Fame is different. Like we're looking at here, there's still not even Hall of Famers. Carson Palmer is kind of like a borderline. I guess 3 Pro Bowls we'll see. Romo at 4. I guess Romo at 4, Andrew Luck at 4. Again, both of those guys are probably on the outside looking in at the Hall of Fame. They'll probably get in once Bill Belichick gets in. I imagine, if Bill Belichick, man, I assume, if we get that far down the list, like, at some point we'll run into Andrew Luck and Tony Romo along the way. But, until then, I would assume that maybe there's a couple other guys. But, again, in terms of talent, like, Luck is obviously as talented as Romo. But Luck's probably a better quarterback than Tony Romo. I mean, Andrew Luck might be, I don't know, do we just keep going on the list? What's this segment's just going to turn into, how talented is Andrew Luck in terms of his career? I don't know. But, he is, maybe even a little bit higher on the list. 54, George Blanda. Do we immediately move him up one spot? Another great, kicker, punter, quarterback combo. I think played 26 years because he was able to pivot in his career to a kicker. And he might actually be like, is George Blanda like a top 25 football player of all time? The football player rankings. He's not, I guess he probably is a top 10 kicker of all time. He's obviously not a top 50 quarterback of all time. No disrespect. I'm just, placing him there. But he is, again, in terms of the ability to play both of those spots in the field, 25 plus years, I guess you got to give him credit there. And he is a Hall of Famer as well, too. Burt Bill, 4 Pro Bowls, the All-Pro. See, that's the thing. Like, Luck never quite got, he didn't get the, if Luck had an MVP, if he had won an MVP one of those seasons, then that would have been really interesting for, obviously, the career accolades of it. But, again, you just see him kind of just on the outside looking in of those years as well, too, because he's overlapping with Brady, then his injuries, and then Mahomes in the league there at the end of the run. Wait, was Luck's highest ranking 31? 31. I mean, yeah, again, number 1 overall pick. So 31 would put him in the 32 for the starting quarterbacks. Is there a case of, again, if we're just ranking the football talent, is Andrew Luck one of the 32 most talented one of the most talented quarterbacks that has ever played? I would honestly, and again, as a biased, obviously I don't have to, put the little biased marker on it at this point. It is what it is. But, I think you just have to look at the set. But, obviously the Colts bias is there, but I think I would take him pretty comfortably over all of the people that, all of the quarterbacks. Again, what are you going to say? Herbert, if we're ranking the football talent, like Herbert's got the, I guess, again, Herbert checks the boxes. I'm not saying that he is a better quarterback, though, than Andrew Luck. I would personally easily kind of, again, not to, we saw him on the Colts, so that's an easy one for me to picture, but I would easily take him over Justin Herbert as a starting quarterback. Again, not saying that maybe the degree to which, and I guess the 58 quarterbacks in 58 minutes is destroyed at this point. Once we got to Andrew Luck, we got 3 quarterbacks in. But, not saying that the degree, the easiness to which I would take him, is probably not the degree to separation at which they are on the list, if that makes sense. Again, I can admit the bias, but I still think I'm right by having him higher up on the rankings. I mean, that's where he's here. We're at George Blanda on video. Flacco at 53. Now, see, Flacco, of course, got the Super Bowl, but, that was a great season as well, too. Like, do they have his rating, his quarterback rating in the playoffs? I feel like you have to, because it's the standout. It's literally, again, why he's in the Hall of Fame. If Doug Williams is in the Hall of Fame because of a great game, then Flacco is in the Hall of Fame because his passer rating is crazy in that playoff run. Then, or I guess Hall of Fame, what do we say, on the list? Put him in the Hall of Fame for a great Super Bowl MVP. I don't, it's going to be more memorable than a lot of things. I think it is one of the most memorable NFL things. Again, the Super Bowl is obviously going to have that extra elevation type thing. But I do think that if we were ranking top 100 to top 50, football events, football moments, football characters, I think Doug Williams is probably one of the top, I guess, again, top 100 is, you probably get quite down the list there. But I think you could argue that Doug Williams is one of the top 100 most famous football players of all time. I don't know, is that a crazy hot take? But either way, Joe Flacco, 2012 playoffs, 4 games, 1,140 yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks, a 117.2 passer rating. So, the best version of Flacco is the greatest quarterback of all time. But the career, I guess, is the 53rd. So I guess, again, and this is where like the Herbert thing would be in that comparison. Like, can Herbert, again, I'll pause, physically accomplish everything on the court or on the field, what was this, basketball? On the field that Andrew Luck can, he can make all the throws, the mobility's there. Like, there's not an aspect of the game. Like, I guess maybe the mobility for Flacco would be the one thing. Andrew Luck, maybe not, again, the fastest guy, but of course could definitely scramble and pick up the extra yardage when you needed him to. But in terms of making the throws, again, Flacco could make every throw that you needed him to make. And definitely the air it out offense was there as well too. Michael Vick, okay, chat. I don't know. Maybe Andrew Luck is the 55th best quarterback of all time. I don't know. I guess would Blanda and Flacco, but Flacco's tough, and I mean, yeah, Michael Vick. I'm definitely, I'll take Michael Vick over Andrew Luck. Unfortunately for Colts fans, there it is what it is. I guess not unfortunately for Colts fans, but unfortunately for Andrew Luck in terms of the the Colts legacy. We're kicking him off the team. We're taking Michael Vick. It is what it is. Shout out. 4 Pro Bowls, 1 Comeback Player of the Year, 1 Burt Bell award. So we saw a couple of, like, I feel like everybody else that had the Burt Bell made the Hall of Fame. Hey, yo, I guess, you know, we tread lightly. But regardless, the football career of it, Michael Vick, Hall of Famer. And again, talent. I mean, Michael Vick's football talent, 32, easily one of the 32 most talented quarterbacks that have ever played. But I guess the lowest on the list is 81. I think you got to have him in the top 35, the top 38. You got to have him in the top 38 at least. You got to have him over Drew Bledsoe. Hey, yo. Shout out to Bledsoe. The big old Patriots logo on the shoulder pads there did get, I guess, a Super Bowl in New England, though. You know, we know why. 4 Pro Bowls for his career. Like, Bledsoe was a really good starter. Unfortunately, he was replaced twice by Brady and then again by Romo as well, too. But, you know, again, was really, really, really good starter up until the time that he got replaced. It is what it is. 36 to 79, his ranking variance there. So, somebody was closing in on the 32 ranking. Gannon, another Super Bowl performer, won the league MVP, I think, the year that he made the Super Bowl. 4 Pro Bowls for him. Kind of had the late turnaround in his career. Yeah, Gannon's career turnaround is noteworthy because it's one of the best stories of a late bloomer, who produced at a high level at his final stop. Any struggling veteran on the verge of retiring should consider Gannon's career. Who's the Rich Gannon right now? I guess Sam Darnold, of course, would be a little bit of a Rich Gannon type product. I mean, we were maybe saying Steve Young as well too, but maybe Gannon's a little bit more, Gannon, if he had won the Super Bowl, maybe is a little bit more fair. But I think actually Darnold might be the new name now on the list. And I guess Darnold, going back to Tannehill. Sorry to Tannehill. I think this version of Sam Darnold and this version of Sam Darnold of the last two, Sam Darnold's won the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold's been I can't believe we didn't even think about this till we got to the 50s, but, been the most winning quarterback over a 2-year stretch. I know that he has an extra game now as well, too. But regardless, it's just been, again, a major winning quarterback in terms of NFL history for a 2-year stretch. And, again, really, really led a really good defense. I know maybe didn't have a perfect Super Bowl performance, but regardless, you're taking him over Ryan Tannehill. It is what it is. Shout out. I hate that that's just the easy name. It's like when we looked at that Pitchfork list. It's like the opposite, I guess, of when we looked at that Pitchfork or that one albums list, and it's like, wait a second, top 100 albums of all time, and why is Doggy Style number 100? Like, this is a little odd. It's like, wait a second, Tannehill 100? What's going on with this list? So I think the list has been fairly, consistent. There hasn't been, like, again, a ton of, like, who's the random starter from now? Who else do we call it? Like, why is J.P. Lozman, like, the 83rd best quarterback of all time? But that was definitely, a hot take place to go to start. But yeah, shout out Gannon. And of course, obviously the iconic tag as well, too, with his name there. Roman Gabriel. Shout out to Roman Gabriel, 4-time Pro Bowler and a league MVP. Not in the Hall of Fame. Is actually, I think, a little bit of a bummer. 30,000 passing yards for back in the day, 54% win percentage. Again, won a league MVP. I think the Pro Bowls, I think you can give him a little bit of leeway with some of the lower totals. And, a pioneer as well, too, is the only player of Asian American descent to be named NFL MVP. Second, it says here, he is an Iron Man at the game's greatest position when the league was arguably its most violent. 91 consecutive starts. So nobody could even make it to 100 straight games back in the day until, I guess, Jaworski did it in the 80s. 6'4", 220. I think he was actually an actor. We were going back to Jim Everett, the Rams quarterback, saying he was an actor. But I think Roman Gabriel was also an actor as well, too. But maybe also just hanging out in Hollywood at 6'4", 220 back in the day. I know one of the early, again, he was like, the built like a linebacker, bigger than the defenders type of quarterback. So, Ayo is obviously going to hold up pretty well today as well, too. To this day, remains the Rams' career leader with passing touchdowns. That said, Matt Stafford should pass him during the 2026 campaign, so this upcoming season. And obviously Stafford playing, obviously, a majority of his career with the Lions. That's Rams specific there But Stafford league MVP as well too. So he will be higher on the list. Daryl LaMonica, hey yo, maybe the best quarterback nickname of all time. Yeah, here we go. LaMonica appropriately earned the nickname the Mad Bomber. Hey yo, for his aggressive passing style, attacking defenses vertically, couple of All Pros. So now we're getting into the multiple All Pros. 3-time AFL champion, 5-time Pro Bowler. I mean, Daryl LaMonica not being in the Hall of Fame. We just need to what's going on with the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Hey, yo, maybe it's not that hot of a take that Belichick, didn't make it in. Hey, yo, I guess, greatest coach of all time. Obviously, he does have to be in. But there are some names that, and just, considering the fact that he's been retired, again, for a little bit of a while as well, too. I said he played for 12 years, but I guess, did he, really space those out? Was it like a major Brett Favre situation? He kept returning right before his Hall of Fame eligibility got there. So, at five Pro Bowlers, a couple of All Pros. Like, come on. What are we doing? I guess he didn't quite get the league MVP thing, but 22. Somebody's got him ranked 22 over here. His 22nd best quarterback of all time. Boomer Esiason. I guess we were talking about quarterback analysts earlier. We didn't even finish, talking about guys in that, who else is in that tier. But Romo actually might be. And I know Esiason is a little bit more of a studio guy as well, too. But obviously, keeping his sort of legacy alive in some ways, as the CBS run has been impressive for him. But and I guess he was the one that we were mixing up with Jaworski earlier, because we said Ken Anderson, and who else was the other Bengals quarterback? So Boomer Esiason would have been that guy. And both of those guys, kind of like both those Browns quarterbacks earlier as well, too, where, the MVP seasons in there, just kind of the random one-year successes, like, not really random 1 years, but Esiason. I mean, put Esiason, we're turning the NFL into the NBA Hall of Fame. Everybody just gets in the Hall of Fame. It is what it is. Able to turn around, the quarterback spot there a couple of times and make the Super Bowl with both those guys, and both those guys locking up the MVP. But yeah, both losing to Montana. Here's our guy Theismann at 46. So again, the gruesome injury. You hate that that's one of the first things that you think about when you think about his career, but won that championship. Probably, I don't know exactly the career timeline, but if Gibbs won those two with the other guys, I guess, did he win those before or after? I think he won those after Theismann. But if he had won those with Theismann, then, or if Theismann, had the capability to stay around and maybe had a little bit of a dynasty run there, like, he could be a guy that, could be a top 20 quarterback of all time as well, too, depending on how his career turned out. And of course, I guess the announcer run in there as well. But yeah, I guess the unfortunate injury, and, Lawrence Taylor, just a menacing player. But yeah, you hate to see it. Steve McNair, number 45. Okay, shout out the MVP, the 3-time Pro Bowler, 21 game-winning drives in his career there, 13 years, drafted 3rd overall in 95, was in that Super Bowl, and definitely could have won that Super Bowl. Again, you got the play here reminding us, only after Mike Jones stopped Kevin Dyson short of the game-tying touchdown. So, maybe does McNair just take Kurt Warner's Hall of Fame spot if that happens? Kurt Warner, with respect to his game, and we haven't seen his name yet, but he played in 3 Super Bowls. So, he was a legit winner there. He did have, of course, the win his first time, lost to the Patriots, and then lost to the Steelers, but managed to get back to the game multiple times. But if McNair takes that first one, definitely catapults him into a little bit of a different tier as well, too. And an MVP and a Super Bowl winner, I mean, definitely a short list there. Like, looking at Hurts as well, like, Hurts hasn't quite got that league MVP yet as well. And, Darnold hasn't quite got the league MVP yet, though Darnold could. Hey, yo. Phil Simms. Maybe Darnold's not on the... Maybe he is on the list. Phil Simms at 44. Of course, the 2 Super Bowls, the MVP with the one that he was healthy for. Again, the announcer run. 2 Pro Bowls for his career, but we did look at his stats. Definitely impressive in his own right. And no surprise that he was going to be in the top 40. Cam Newton at 43. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. The Burt Bell as well, too. Again, took his team to the Super Bowl. Obviously, what do you want to say? Didn't dive on the football for the for the fumble. Hey, yo. I think Cam Newton was cooking that season. One of the most, again, the highlight fun players, one of the most influential, just like player, you want to copy his play style type of quarterbacks. I think Mahomes, we'll get to Mahomes. Obviously, Mahomes is up on that tier as well, too. But I would say, and I don't know if I get too hot takey here, but I would say for our era, and, again, there was definitely, a copy and paste nature with some of these quarterbacks. Obviously, there were guys that excelled, again, like Manning and Brady, and, a tier of guys that were maybe underneath them. And then, your rest of, then what, you're like your Jeff Garcias and the rest of them. But, nobody was necessarily, I don't remember playing like pickup football and, people copying like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe Ben Roethlisberger would have weirdly been the one. I don't think so, but I don't know. There's like there's something about that maybe once somebody tried to copy like I was like, oh, is this Ben Roethlisberger play? Hey, yo, whoa. But maybe, but for the most part, people weren't like copying play sets. And then Cam Newton, and if we were talking receivers, players from this time as well too, I want to say that Odell was healthy that year. So did we have Cam Newton and Odell both like at the peak of their powers, Instagram, highlights, both in that 2016 run? So you had, I think, people, celebrating the touchdowns. Both those guys, great touchdown celebrations. So there was definitely copying stuff there. Tebow, maybe people were copying the Tebow before Cam Newton. But then, so I guess the Florida connection there. But then actually, then it was just Cam, and again, his celebration and his swagger with his play. And Odell, like we were saying, at the receiver spot as well too. And then, again, it moved into guys like Mahomes scrambling around. So, again, Cam's influence as well too definitely has to be recognized. And I guess he is making a case. Is he making a case for the best quarterback podcaster? I mean, yeah, most entertaining quarterback podcaster. That's what we said, right? Shout out. So, best dressed quarterback podcaster, Cam Newton, ranked as high as 19 by somebody. I mean, I'm not against it. Shout out again if we're just drafting guys. Donovan McNabb, I think he's probably better than McNabb at the peak of his powers. Though McNabb did have, of course, more successful playoff runs. He was in, him and Andy Reid were in. Did the Eagles make 5 championships? I know Reid has been in 5 at this point, but they might have been. They were at least in a couple there. I guess it might say if it was that many. But yeah, at least 3 or 4 conference championships, very successful winners. Obviously, 6-time Pro Bowler, 37,000 pass yards. He should be in the Hall of Fame at some point. An MVP, like an All-Pro would have been good. I don't know if he would have won. He would have had to have been, I guess if he would have been an All-Pro and then like a running back would have won the MVP that year or something. But he also could have had of course, an MVP All-Pro type season. It would have helped maybe. I guess he did have weapons in the beginning of his career. So maybe like in that right after Owens left, if he had one other weapon join him, because they did have Macklin and Deshaun Jackson. Did those guys overlap with McNabb? Because they did play with Vic on that team, so I do remember that. But maybe, and he had Westbrook and stuff, so he had good weapons to play with. But yeah, he is. If he had like a Burt Bell award on here, Offensive Player of the Year or something would definitely. But yeah, 5 NFC East titles, 5 division titles, definitely something to be proud of there as well too. Matt Ryan at 41. The 2016 Falcons, of course, they're the greatest offense that almost won a Super Bowl, and then unfortunately, Brady just became the greatest player of all time. But hey, speaking of the forgotten, not forgotten legacies, but the what if legacies, Matt Ryan. You don't think about the what if legacy because again, the legacy is Brady's legacy, and if it's somebody else, maybe we think about the Falcons a little bit more, and the Falcons do definitely get joked about, but again, it is a little bit of a vague sort of Falcons franchise, and then the greatness of Brady kind of being there as well. Hey, the Colts run for Matt Ryan, we almost forgot about that, but 62,000 pass yards. So we see the modern day 381 touchdowns, and how that's going to carry him there as well too. Again, 24th best quarterback of all time. I get the accolades. I get how good he was that one year as well too. But this is where I'm like Andrew Luck and that, to bring his name back in that 2016 Falcons offense, like he's just going to be cooking in that offense. And again, some of the older guys as well too, like Burt Jones, ayo. Like we bring Burt Jones back about it. Like what was Roman Gabriel? Where was he at here? He was Theismann at 46? Like, I don't know. Theismann in that offense in 2016 with Shanahan, like he might be able to win the MVP that year as well too. So again, I don't want to disrespect Matt Ryan. Definitely a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. Probably a better quarterback than Brock Purdy, to be honest. At this point, it could be close. Brock Purdy's pretty good. But the fact that I would have to sit here and think about, Matt Ryan versus Brock Purdy, again, now I'm being inconsistent with what we rank. Like, are we ranking talent or are we ranking careers? Because again, really, really good career for Matt Ryan. But also, I don't want to just rank passing yards as well, too. I think that might be a little overrated. Era specific. Ken Anderson at 40. Shout out. Got a nice little mustache going there. Just, a nice standard haircut. Nice mustache. Hey, just generic, basic cut for our guy Ken Anderson. Just the basic, 2K generated model there for our guy. Shout out 16 seasons with Cincinnati. Like I said, the better quarterback, I guess, between him and Boomer Esiason. Barely. But top 20, according to somebody. Randall Cunningham sneaking in, pause, at 39. So we get him into the top 40 with 4 Pro Bowls. Almost won the MVP, but lost to, I want to say, Montana. One of those seasons was, I guess it will say here, probably what his best season was. Was it 90? Ran for 942 yards in 1990. 1998 had the 15-1 Vikings. Of course, had some fun offenses there with those impressive receivers. So 24-55, kind of a consensus top 50 quarterback. And I guess, does he land closer to 24 or 55? I don't know. Might have to do a little math there. Sonny Jurgensen. Hey, yo. Number 38. Just recently passed, I think. Another rest in peace. 18 years in the league. One of, I guess, again, 32,000 yards. I would say for his time, one of the prolific passers. Yeah, became a trendsetter. First quarterback to regularly throw for 3,000 yards. Again, it's a smaller number now compared to what you get, but it is just in comparison to what was happening in the day, and that was impressive. And he was a pure passer in the era before the game was evolved toward prolific serial attacks. 4th round pick in 57. He was always one, I would definitely look back at the stats and just be like, hey, yo, this Sonny Jurgensen guy was putting up some crazy years. So yeah, he is 38, almost to the 32. 25-60 was the range. Led the NFL in passing on 5 different occasions and threw for 5,000 yards 5 of his 10 seasons as a starter. Bobby Lane. Of course, the curse of Bobby Lane's affected the Lions up until now. I mean, you could say it has even still affected the Lions. They haven't, won a Super Bowl or anything. They've just been a little bit better in the regular season. But 3-time NFL champ. Now we're getting a Hall of Famer, finally. 37th best quarterback of all time. 6 Pro Bowlers, 2 All-Pros. 243 picks to 196 touchdowns. But different time. Still won 60% of his games, though, back then with 80 wins. And again, 15 seasons played. Bears, Bulldogs, Lions to Steelers. So apparently the Bears to Bulldogs move or the Bulldogs to Lions move did not get him that mad. Did he leave curses on all the teams that he left and just the Lions one is the only one that we remember? But apparently when he went to the Lions to the Steelers, he was not happy about it. So shout out to the Lions fans who are just now, having to deal with that being removed. Y.A. Tittle. Whoa. Y.A., a little titillated here in the picture. I don't know. Maybe they just got him when they're like, hey, Y.A. And he's like in the middle of like whipping his head around, paws, like looking over. He's definitely in the middle of like just looking over. So that's unfortunate, to get him there. And just a good looking guy. It is what it is. But Hall of Famer, MVP, 7 Pro Bowls for our guy Y.A. Tittle. Definitely the most of anybody. Y.A. Tittle's lasting impression is of a broken, beaten veteran who gave it his all as he sits on his knees at the edge of defeat. Oh, okay. Shout out to Y.A. Tittle. The picture is truly iconic. Oh, I think I know what they're talking about here. Do we get the picture of Wyatt Tittle? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you see you got the battle scars here. We got a little like bloody temple, bloody forehead situation, and you know, the old school mayor. I mean, this isn't even male pattern baldness. With all due respect to Wyatt Tittle, it looks literally like, I mean, the patchiness there is crazy. Again, with all due respect, it is what it is. But one of the iconic NFL photos of all time, I guess. Where's Len Dawson smoking a cig? I mean, he's going to be higher up than 36, I guess, on this list. 18. Imagine Wyatt Tittle as one of the 32 starters. That'd be fun. Wyatt Tittle versus Pat Mahomes, game 1. Josh Allen, already the 35th best quarterback of all time. 1 MVP, 4 Pro Bowls. Again, you look at some of the stats on paper like that. Obviously, we watch game to game. We know how effective he can be and how, in a positive way, you know, all-encompassing of the offense he can be, where he can just, you know, carry so much of a, you know, positive load for that team. But is the career at this point a top 35 career of all time? I guess, like we said, he's going in the Hall of Fame, so maybe it is. And yeah, 300 total touchdowns. I guess true. You add the rushing scores and stuff on there. That does really boost those numbers overall. And speaking of consensus top 50, I mean, I guess he is at this point, you know, the lowest somebody had him was at 50 flat, and then 20 was the highest. So 35 is where he falls. Bob Greasy, shout out. The Greasies or the Mannings? I guess the Mannings better overall, but, you know, Greasy, the Hall of Famer, Bob, the Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Of course, like we saw earlier with Oral Moral, him being a part of that undefeated Dolphins team. Oh, Joe Namath. Of course, Ayo, shout out to Joe Namath. You know, with all due respect, you know, we weren't there for Super Bowl III, but we do definitely hold a grudge about it. It is what it is. He was talking a little bit too much smack. I don't like that, you know, the guarantee it. Why does Joe Namath get credit for guaranteeing it? Is he the first guy to ever guarantee a victory? And it happened? Ayo, that can't be. And he has a losing record. So Broadway Joe was a cool guy. I guess he was getting laid a lot back in the day, so that's cool. But, you know, is he one of the best quarterbacks ever? You know, again, a trendsetter in terms of the stats as well, too. First quarterback in league history to throw for 4,000 yards. Somebody had him at 19th and somebody had him at 90th, though. So he might be the most volatile guy ranked. Again, we did have somebody ranked like 30th and then unranked, so, you know, I guess, how does that count? But, you know, in terms of guys that are going to be a consensus on the list, but where, you know, like where the heck do you put Joe Namath? He is definitely, you know, again, top of that list anyways. So I would definitely have him way too low on the list because I would just avoid ranking him for as long as possible. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, you know, the fur coat is iconic. Shout out the most iconic fur coats of all time, Joe Namath. And I was going to say Joe Namath and Frank Lucas, but is it Frank Lucas and then Joe Namath? I guess it's a 1A, 1B situation. We might just have to flip a coin and see what's going on. Actually, hey, yo, let's just take a quick stop at the old chat GPT and just ask it real quick. Who are the most iconic people to wear fur coats? Hey, yo, you know, with all due respect out there, I don't know what just happened to what we were typing out there, but who are the most iconic people, ayo, who wear fur coats? And with all due respect to PETA, you know, we're just asking a simple question about fashion. It is what it is. Oh, Biggie, of course. Ayo, so just you know, Bad Boy era, Cameron, Rick Ross, Lil' Kim, Aretha Franklin, Aretha Franklin, Joe Namath. Oh, Walt Frazier. Yeah, Walt Frazier is a good one for sure. Pause. Iverson, Dennis Rodman, Cruella DeVille. Okay, I mean, that's for sure. Tony Montana, white suit, fur coat, Miami Kingpin look. Hey, yo. I guess we have to throw the Scarface DVD in tonight. I don't think Tony Montana wears a fur coat in Scarface. Of course, the chinchilla, is it not? It's alpaca. Or wait, the carpet's alpaca. Hey, yo, what's the 444 bar? Ever since Denzel been blotting carpets, alpaca, 9 mil. Oh, chat. I know the lyric. I just, you know, it is what it is when the cameras aren't, when the lights are bright. I never know the lyric, but I guess, fortunately, they make websites for those types of things. So we can go to look it up. And I guess now we have to remember exactly which track it is as well, too. It's not Smile, I don't think. But I guess now we just have to listen to the whole 444 album to try to figure this out. Tune in next week. I'll start the next live stream by rapping the track from 444 where it's in. Oh no, it's Marcy Me. I was gonna say, which one have I been playing a lot lately? And I thought for some reason it was Smile, but no, Marcy Me is the one that it is. So wait, where is it? Boom, 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 boom. Back when Rodman was a Piston, Mike was losing to Isaiah, but he soon will get his sixth one. Gave birth to my verbal imagination. Soon, I guess I've lost the beat now at this point. It is what it is. Wait, where is the Slick Rick made Mona Lisa when Lisa Bonet was Beyonce of her day? Hey, yo. Streets is my artery, the vein of my existence. We're not even looking for the bar at this point. Where is it? Denzel? Paka. Oh, wait, I thought I just saw it. I thought I just saw it. Did I not? Is it not this song? I'm probably scrolling too fast and missing it. Here it is. When Denzel was back when Pam was on Martin. Hey, yo! Chat, we're locked in. Martin on BET right now. I thought that they were going to have Love and Hip Hop Atlanta on. They were advertising it, but I think this free preview version on Sling's a little bit different because they had like 19 episodes of The Neighborhood in a row, and now it's Martin. So it's like a Martin Lawrence only version of BET, I guess, is what you get for free on Sling. But yeah, back when Pam was on Martin, yeah, that's when it's all started. When Denzel was blotting carpets, alpaca 9mm. Oh, I just skipped right to the Lisa Bonet and Beyonce line. Sorry, Denzel. I guess, Lisa Bonet and Beyonce together. That's what it would, I guess take for us. Denzel's just a cool guy. So with all due respect to Lisa Bonet and Beyonce, if we could meet either one individually or Denzel. Dinner with Beyonce or chat? What's the question? Which one would you rather have? I don't know. Hey, yo. But, whoa. Hey, I don't know. But, yeah, either way, shout out. I guess we're just reading bars of canceled actors or canceled rappers at this point. But yeah, Joe Namath, hey yo. But start thinking about Super Bowl III, start thinking about packing 9 millis and things like that. Hey yo, speaking of packing a 9 milli, Joe Namath, hey yo. Phillip Rivers, number 32. See, now I immediately have beat. Joe Namath won a Super Bowl. See, I don't know. What do we mean here? What do we mean? I'm just upset that he got the win over our team. Though Phillip Rivers, of course, now we have to like him because he almost beat the Super Bowl champions off the couch. 5 years rest. Almost got up and beat the best team in the NFL, no problem. And it's just now all of a sudden an iconic Colts quarterback. Like, he was a good Colts quarterback before that, but now it's like an iconic thing. So maybe it's a little bit, maybe it'll be iconic for like 5 years. I guess I don't know what like the leg room pause of that iconicness is. But yeah, it is still, associated very, very much with the franchise there. So Sid Luckman, number 31, quarterback of all time. I believe 7 touchdowns in a game for Sid Luckman. Oh, 13th is his highest ranking. 97th is his lowest ranking. So even a bigger variance there than our guy Joe Namath. Bears official website named Luckman the 4th greatest player in team's history behind Walter Payton, the old Dick Butkus, ayo, and Bronco Nagurski. Ayo, shout out. So, Dick Butkus and Bronco Nagurski, we're not going to let anybody else be in front of him besides Walter Payton, pause. But Sid Luckman, the best quarterback in Bears history, I guess, obviously. Though he did not throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Because, of course, Caleb Williams can potentially be the first Bears quarterback to ever do that. Though, should we say right now, I guess either way, this will jinx him, I guess, one way or the other. I don't know. But should we say right now that Caleb Williams will never throw for 4,000 yards in a season? Because I think you can say that, and he can still have an amazing career. And he can still even have an amazing, healthy career. Like, they could just maybe have a stacked run game, good defense. He could consistently be 37 to 3,900 yards and just never quite cross over the threshold. I mean, you would assume that he would get to like a 42, 4,300 yard season. Maybe 47 if he goes really crazy. But, yeah, I guess he's got a long ways to go before he passes Sid Luckman in terms of overall legacy at this point. Now Sid Luckman is just like a guy that like works in sales somewhere. Just some guys like Sid Luckman, selling you insurance. But yeah, back in the day, he was a quarterback. Ken Stabler, we said, of course, iconic guy, iconic cool guy quarterback. Definitely. Who was the other cool guy quarterback that we said was on the list? I forgot. So I guess Namath was one. If we did like a cool guy quarterback ranking, if we did the top quarterbacks that looked the coolest while they were smoking cigs, obviously Len Dawson's number one because the picture's iconic. But Ken Stabler might be two. If we ranked the top 10 quarterbacks that looked the coolest because they smoke cigs, then maybe Ken Stabler is the coolest there. But also, good winner as well too. Super Bowl MVP, 4 Pro Bowls. Shout out, iconic. Love to see it. Somebody said he was the 16th best quarterback of all time. Here we go, Len Dawson. So we just got the whole pack, chat. The whole pack of quarterbacks right here in this run. Another Super Bowl MVP, 7 Pro Bowlers, 3 AFL champions. So really one of the greats. Honestly, should probably be in the top 20, top 25 at least. Lamar at 28, he could also be higher. 2 MVPs, 4 Pro Bowls. Obviously, the playoff successes are going to be the things holding him back at this point. But, he's just, even if he continues to stack up the regular season accolades at this point, him and Josh Allen both are going to potentially just be top 20 all-time quarterbacks because of the dynamic talent and the numbers that they put up. Norm Van Brocklin, 2 Norms. Is Norm the greatest quarterback name of all time? Oh, wow. Norm Snead and Norm Van Brocklin. I guess we have to go back and double check the list. I guess, is it going to be like Archie when Archie Manning and Archie Manning both are in the league? Did I miss the other Lamar? Who was the other Lamar? Josh? Was there 2 Joshes? Do we control F for Josh on this page and see what we find? I don't know. Pause. Whoa, but I think it might be Norm. I think Norm might be the number one. Patrick Mahomes, Danny White, Roger Staubach, Terry, Dan Marino. Was there another Dan? John Elway, Josh Allen? No, I think it might be Norm. I think Norm might be the number one quarterback of all time. And then Norm McDonald, obviously, great passer of jokes. I guess that'd make it seem like he passed on jokes or something. Just, he could really throw a joke deep. I don't know. I don't know what it is there, but either way, shout out Sammy Baugh, 26th all time. The NFL's first quarterback. Yeah, NFL's initial superstar quarterback. The first to enter the Pro Football Hall of Fame as inaugural 63 class. So shout out TCU product. Great stuff. Love to see the homage paid. Slingin' Sammy Baugh, great nickname as well too. 7th. Oh, here we go. 7th and 96. It actually it gets more volatile the higher we go up the list. That seems a little crazier, but maybe that's just how rankings work. I don't know. But I guess the more controversial, the higher it goes for sure there as well. But 7th overall. So somebody, again, there's like a consistent guy that was ranking these older guys higher. And somebody was ranking the newer guys higher, Lamar as the 11th best quarterback of all time. That's definitely a little bit too high as well too. Neither Lamar or Sammy Baugh, with all due respect, are top 10 quarterbacks of all time. You may say Sammy Baugh might have the closer case. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think they both have equally the same amount of case to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I think that Sammy Baugh, again, you say that he hit the timeline first, and I guess, in some ways there are, groundbreaking things that you are able to accomplish with, depending on when you hit the timeline. But regardless, in terms of the football talent of it, it's pretty close. Lamar and Sammy Baugh are basically the same player at this point. It is what it is. Russell Wilson at 25. Yeah, see, Lamar's a better quarterback than Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson's got 10 Super Bowls. Whoa! He's got 10 Pro Bowls in a Super Bowl. So I don't know if you can rank Lamar over Russell Wilson. And he had a couple of, he was in another Super Bowl, obviously, that he definitely should have won if they just ran a different player, throws a pass differently, really changes his legacy there. And definitely had some good playoff runs as well, too, after that, where it felt like they could have gotten back and just, some unfortunate playoff stuff that happened. I'm trying to think, though, I guess the year that they made it against the Patriots, was that the year that they beat the Packers in the playoffs? Because I know they maybe matched up against them a couple times. I don't remember there, but Yeah, I would. I mean, mobility, deep ball passing. I mean, I'm taking Lamar. I mean, I guess Wilson's a better deep ball passer, but Lamar a better athlete. And I think at this point, the totality of his passing game is as good as any point as Russell Wilson over his career. So, again, the MVPs I think could be a separating factor in my mind. But Eli at 24. So there is, I guess, a debate about whether or not Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. But if you rank the quarterbacks, he is a top 25 quarterback of all time. So that kind of locks it in. And we've definitely, we're pro Eli as a Hall of Famer here. I mean, raw numbers, pause. Whoa. 2 Super Bowl MVPs is crazy. 2 Super Bowl. It's crazy that he was the MVP in both those games as well, too. Like, defender, receiver, nobody else was able to win it. And 57,000 passing yards. Like, the career numbers are all there. So his time will happen. He'll definitely get into the Hall at some point. And then once both of the Mannings get in, then we can get Archie in the Hall as well, too. Arch, the dad, as kind of an honorary Hall of Fame induction. But Dan Fouts, of course, one of the fun vertical passers of all time. Hall of Famer, 6 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros. Shout out. Saw him, I forget who he replaced from earlier in the list, but we saw that as part of the storyline. In a top 15 quarterback of all time. He is a fun one with, again, in terms of the talent, like he could be, speaking of throwing on highlights, like I might actually legitimately, we've been joking this whole time, but I actually might throw on some Dan Fouts highlights and fall asleep to some old Chargers games. I don't know. Hey, yo. Because there was, some vertical groundbreaking elements in that offense that were definitely fun for back in the day. But, earns him a top 25 nod. Jim Kelly, obviously one of the legendary quarterbacks, one of the legendary people as well, too, in the NFL. And, I know his battles with some of his off-field health stuff have been, of course, an inspiration to many. But, again, great leader of that team. Obviously, the 4 Super Bowl run is nothing to laugh at. And I don't know, the 90s Bills look, is the red on their jerseys a little bit different? There's just something, I guess the red helmet, they don't have a red helmet anymore. So, Jim Kelly, just proving that they need to bring back the red helmet. The kit here is looking pretty good. But shout out, you remember him losing 4, you never remember him making 4 in a row. 4 NFC championship game wins in a row, or AFC championship games in a row is how you remember. Warren Moon at 21. Shout out 9 Pro Bowlers. So him and Russell Wilson are going to be like the sneaky guys up there for most Pro Bowlers in NFL history. That maybe, I guess, Warren Moon, you probably would think of maybe a little sooner than Wilson. Because I think he retired. Does it say here? Where did he retire in the all-time ranks? He'd be top 5 in that category. Threw for 21. I guess he did lose some seasons in Canada. 21,000 yards in Canada. So all-time passing yards. Do we include his Canada stats? Is it like including the ABA guys' point totals in their career point totals for NBA scoring? So he was 12th and 32nd. So Warren Moon is the first consensus top 32 guy. Because somebody had Kelly at 43 here. 16 and 43. See, I would assume Kelly would be a consensus top 32, but I guess not. Same with Fouts. Eli, definitely not. Again, Wilson, Lamar, Sammy Baugh, some of these guys, it just would be a little more era specific. Too old or too new. But we get kind of the perfect mid-range selection of guys here, and I would assume that these names would be it. But yeah, shout out, obviously, Warren Moon. And I think 21's probably a couple spots too low. Stafford, let me scroll ahead here and see. Stafford, Troy Aikman, 3 Super Bowls, and Kurt Warner, 1 with 3 appearances. I guess it's close. Maybe Warren Moon doesn't have it like the playoffs stuff that some of these guys have, so I guess I could get that a little bit. Because, again, Stafford now with the MVP this year is able to add to his accolades in a different way. 3 Pro Bowls is interesting. And I guess what's the rule now about guys not being able to go to the Pro Bowl if they're in the Super Bowl? So is that not go, but then they can still qualify to make it? So maybe he's been burned by that a little bit as well, too. But also the championship. I mean, the yardage is crazy. The arm angles. Who doesn't love the arm angles from our guy Stafford? So, I mean, I guess at this point, Aikman, at least we kind of know what the list is going to be. Warner at 18. I feel like the fun parts is obviously, 20 to 100. the crazy part. Aikman, Warner. I don't see. I might go Aikman over Warner at that point. Staubach at what are we at? 17? I don't know why I said 12. Only one person had him ranked in the top 10. I guess I'm not assuming one. Staubach, I think, is a sneaky top 10 quarterback of all time. Early mobile quarterback. Him and Tarkington both were able to pick up yardage with the legs. Of course, entered the NFL later because he did have a military run as well, too. So I think he was 28 when he was a rookie in the league. So lost some seasons there. So it's just sort of the hypothetical. Do you add like a little 5% boost to all of his stats because of, him serving time or whatever? But Roger the Dodger, another great nickname as well too, retired with the NFL's best passer rating, though his numbers have long been surpassed by dozens of quarterbacks. So he does, Aaron Rodgers, we haven't seen his name yet. Like Aaron Rodgers is, I think, that type of Rodgers Staubach quarterback where Bradshaw, better accolades. I don't know if he was consensusly like a better quarterback, but Staubach, maybe like the play on the field, the advanced stats. It's like, Staubach's that guy. So I don't know if they were talking about that in newspapers back in the day, but I think that you could have potentially argued that you would have rather have had him than Bradshaw for some of those teams. And I think that he is very much a case to be in the top 10, though again, just obviously the totality of some of the guy's accomplishments might be a little bit too much. But Roethlisberger, I would say Staubach over Roethlisberger at this point. Because they both have two, so I guess I don't know if his second one he was a little bit low key. But 6 Pro Bowls for Staubach to 6 for Roethlisberger. And Roethlisberger's going to have the yards, but I mean, put Staubach in 2025, he's getting those yards. It is what it is. And he's more mobile than Roethlisberger. More efficient. I think that's an easy case. Bradshaw at 15, so back-to-back Steelers. Somebody had him at 3? Oh, Chad, somebody exposed this writer. 3 is crazy. I mean, he's got 4 Super Bowls, but that means you have to have Montana at 2. So you've got Brady at 1. So he definitely does not have Brady 1. If you have Terry Bradshaw 3, that means you probably have Joe Montana 1, to be honest. Joe Montana 1, Tom Brady 2, Terry Bradshaw. I guess when we look at Joe Montana's page, we'll see if did anybody else get a number 1 overall vote. That would be crazy if somebody actually had the guts to do that. But Bart Starr, also not in the top 10, number 14, got an MVP in there. The Ice Bowl, I guess, obviously, respectfully, it is what it is. But for him, he was 4th on this list, potentially. 3rd and 4th, Bradshaw and Bart Starr as the old-timer initial great quarterbacks. Tarkington at number 13. So I think that the Vikings, he had 18 years. So he did have more, time in the league, obviously more stats than Staubach. And I mean, looking at these numbers as well too, 342 touchdowns when he played in the 70s is nuts. So maybe don't move him at all. Pause. But I don't know if he was a better quarterback than Staubach. Staubach was pretty good, kids. Staubach was pretty good. Otto Graham, number 12. Oh, you love to see it. The Browns Hall of Famer. What did he win? 10 championships, 3 NFL championships, 4 AAFC championships. So I guess 7 there. And then 5 Pro Bowls, 7 All-Pros, 3 UPI MVPs. Again, just to put him in stuff. Unitas. So we got the old veteran guys out of the way, I guess, in the 10 to the teens. The teens are old veterans and Roethlisberger. I don't know what the double entendre is there, but is the top 10 going to be too new? I guess is the question. Dan Marino, number 10. No surprise there. Okay, so Steve Young over Moreno. Question asked, question answered. 3 hours later, there we go. Steve Young is the better quarterback than Dan Marino. It is what it is. No revelation for us. Drew Brees, number 8. That's a new guy quarterback that, in some ways, again, I guess compared to us growing up, but maybe we haven't personally adjusted our rankings to include him in the top 10. Again, 1 championship season, a lot of pretty good stats, and not like a ton of amazing playoff runs, but 80,000 yards, 571 touchdowns, again, biased because he got the Colts in a Super Bowl. Somebody had him number 5 all time. That's probably a little too high. In 16, though, was the lowest. I guess Yeah, probably Drew Brees is a tie. Yeah, chat. Hey, yo, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. It is what it is. Brett Favre, number 7. Shout out all the MVPs, 3 MVPs. Got the Super Bowl at one point. The career leader in all the stats as well. 6 to 14 was his range. So, not quite top 5, obviously, but number 6 is pretty generous for Brett Favre. What is he at on the list? 7. So 14. I guess he's closer to 6 than he is 14. But I think he might be closer to 14 than he is to 6. Brett Favre is a top 7 quarterback of all time. Brett Favre and Drew Brees are definitely better than Fran Tarkington and Roger Staubach. And I know that sounds like an era thing, and you're like, well, Brett Favre is throwing the ball 100 miles an hour. Like, Roger Staubach's not breaking receivers' fingers when he's throwing the football. It's like, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe the receivers can catch it. Is Staubach gambling away the money? I don't know if that's part of the article. But Elway at 6, of course. 4 was his highest rating. 12 was his lowest. Rodgers at 5. He might have got a 1. Did Aaron Rodgers get a number 1 overall? 10 Pro Bowls for Rodgers. So I guess Brady's going to be 1 with Pro Bowls, and then Rodgers and Russell Wilson are 2, both with 10. And wait, how many did Brett Favre have for Pro Bowls? Because obviously he played a long time. Oh, 11. So Brett Favre's going to have 11. And maybe Brady doesn't have 12 Pro Bowls. Obviously that would seem like a crazy thing to say, but I guess we'll give Brett Favre the benefit of the doubt. It is what it is. I did see the number 4 posted on the gram, so that is not necessarily too surprising here as we scroll down. But highest rank for Rodgers was 4. Lowest rank was 14, and then I guess the community runoff ranked number 5. So that's where he ended up there. Mahomes, number 4. We did see that. And again, just the on-paper stuff like we mentioned earlier, it is, just straight up better than Rodgers. We've talked about this in the past, but he has more playoff wins in his career than Rodgers. So take away what the games are, Super Bowls, conference championships, just as games, he's won more of them in the playoffs than Rodgers has. And, he's a little behind him in the stats at this point. Shout out to the career that Rodgers has had there. But in terms of the per game numbers, of course, it is pretty close. 9 seasons, so a decade in for Mahomes. So he's not even really, like we've said as well, too, in the projectable, like, we need to sort of, in our minds, give him the mental 2 more years. Like, he has, had the amount of career. He's had a career at this point, even though maybe not like a 2025 one where we expect these guys to play for forever. But number 3 was his highest ranking, and number 7 was his lowest ranking. So everybody else that we've looked at has had somebody that has ranked him outside the top 10. So Mahomes is the only consensus top 10, or the first consensus top 10 quarterback. I guess these top 4, maybe, but there's no guarantee that maybe Manning. There's no way that somebody didn't rank Manning like 11th though, did they? I'm assuming he'll be 3, and then Montana will be 2. Yeah, Manning is 3. So I'm assuming nobody. 2 for Manning was his highest. 5 was his lowest. So, again, Manning. So Mahomes, Manning, Montana, and Brady is like the definite quarterback Mount Rushmore at this point. It is what it is. And, I guess like we're saying, Sammy Baugh, Unitas for timeline stuff. But in terms of the accomplishments, the dominance, the impact, the name value-ness, those are the easy 4 guys to pick that I think everybody can agree on there. Somebody did have him 1. You knew somebody was going to do it. You knew somebody was going to do it. I mean, we can sit here and say that we can't blame him, but Brady has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. He's got 7 Super Bowls. The man has 7 Super Bowls. So he literally doesn't need anybody to defend his career because he just has the greatest career of maybe any professional athlete ever. But shout out, some old timers out there liking Joe Montana. It is what it is. So Joe Cool. So there we go. Shout out, rest in peace, James Vanderbeek, Mox, and just, Varsity Blues as well, too. We didn't expect it to be a cursed movie, but I guess, rest in peace, Paul Walker. Rest in peace, Billy Bob. Somebody told us that we were talking about the Vanderbeek Varsity Blues thing today at work, and somebody's like, Billy Bob was passed on. I was like, what? What? So, hey, yo. You hate to say it. I guess we'll just end on that note. It is what it is. But we'll be back Friday. Baby Keem album Friday. NBA back Friday. So it'll be a fun one. Hope you're locked in. Hopefully YouTube's back up and working normal. And it'll be all good to go. and enjoy the next few days. And we'll see you all then. Stay locked into the YouTube, the podcast feeds, and the Instagram. And like I said, be back.